In my past life, my aunt was dead set on adopting a girl named Jejia. She was exceptionally pretty, but she was already 5 years old. I tried to talk my aunt out of adopting a child so casually, especially one who was already old enough to understand things. Genetics play a role, and we had no idea what kind of person she really was. She wouldn't listen, insisting that I was just jealous that Jejia would grow up to be prettier than me. After that, every time Jejia got into trouble, she would hit and scold her, saying, "I regret this so much. I should have listened to your cousin and never adopted you, you ungrateful wretch." Because of this, Jejia resented me for years. It all came to a head when I was pregnant. She pushed me, causing my death and that of my unborn child. When I opened my eyes again, I had gone back to the day my aunt was about to adopt Jejia. One, little sister, you already have Xiaochen. Why on earth would you want to adopt another daughter? In my dazed state, I heard my mother's voice, "Seeing how happy you all are with your daughters, I want one too." My aunt's voice reached my ears next, and I was utterly bewildered. "But I'm dead. How can I still hear them?" I snapped my eyes open to find myself lying on the sofa, a book covering my face as I pretended to doze. Pushing the book aside, I saw my mom and my aunt chatting. "So, have I been reborn?" Before I could even process it, my aunt suddenly turned to look at me. "Jiao Jiao, what would you think if I added a little cousin for you? I've already contacted the orphanage. They say the little girl is especially pretty and sensible." As she spoke, she took out her phone and pulled up a photo to show me. "The director sent me this picture. Have a look. She's absolutely beautiful." I stared blankly at the photo, but the moment I clearly saw the image of that smiling, cheerful girl, my eyes widened in an instant, and rage boiled up inside me. It was this innocent, youthful face that was responsible for the deaths of my child and me. I touched my flat stomach. At that time, I had just graduated from university, too. In my past life, around the same time, my aunt came to our house and told my mom she wanted to adopt a 5-year-old girl named Jejia. My mom tried to talk her out of it, saying she already had my cousin Zhangchen, so there was no need to take on another child. I was there too, and I remembered several of my classmates had adopted siblings. They all said adopted kids were more often than not problematic. It's like opening a mystery box. If the child's genetic background is good, then it's a stroke of luck. You wouldn't have to worry a day in your life, and you'd even have a good companion in your old age. But that's rarely the case. Just think about it. What kind of parents, with what kind of character and genes, would abandon their own child? That's why I advised my aunt back then not to adopt a child on a whim, especially that Jejia. She's already 5 years old and quite aware of things. It's very difficult to form a close bond with a child at that age. What if the other parents are no good? You'd be tying your whole life to them. On top of that, my cousin is older now. What if they don't like each other or just don't get along? But my aunt wouldn't listen. She even suggested that maybe I was jealous. Seeing how pretty Jejia is and thinking she might grow up to be more beautiful than me, I was completely speechless. So I didn't try to persuade her any further. She got her wish and adopted Jejia, but every time Jejia caused trouble, my aunt would hit her while yelling, "I regret not listening to your cousin so much. I should have never adopted you, you ungrateful wretch." The more she said it, the deeper Jejia's resentment towards me grew, but she hid it well. It wasn't until later, after I got married and became pregnant, that she finally showed her true fangs. I happened to be visiting my parents that day. My aunt lives right across the hall from my family. Since the elevator was under maintenance, I took the stairs. Halfway up, I ran into Jejia. By then, she had grown into a graceful young woman. Seeing I was alone, and after checking that no one else was on the stairs, she didn't even wait for me to say hello. She lashed out, "It was you, you bitch. Why did you talk my mom out of adopting me back then? Because of you." I got beaten and scolded by her every single day. I was completely stunned, frozen in place, my mind going blank. She quickly descended a step and then, in the blink of an eye, shoved me. I watched in horror as she fell backward and tumbled down 2 flights of stairs. Both I and the baby I had just discovered I was carrying were gone, and because there were no security cameras on that staircase, she somehow managed to clear herself of all suspicion and went on living her life. Carefree and without consequence, she had completely forgotten about me and our child, whose lives she took. The ones left utterly devastated were my family and my in-laws. 3. I was gently tracing my finger over Jejia's photo on my aunt's phone. Perhaps I had been staring for too long, as my aunt called out to me in confusion, "Jiao Jiao, Jiao Jiao." My mom chimed in too, "Jiao Jiao, what's wrong? Hurry up and give the phone back to your aunt. You're going to wear a hole right through it." Snapped out of my reverie, I was momentarily lost between reality and illusion. After handing the phone back to my aunt, I remarked flatly, "That's nice. She's a very pretty little girl." My aunt beamed with delight, and the more she looked at Jejia in the photo, the fonder she grew. Seeing that I wasn't going to argue further, my mother also fell silent. My aunt happily went home to prepare the room. She said she had already scheduled to complete the adoption paperwork tomorrow and bring Jejia home. After my aunt left, I lay on the sofa for quite a while, trying to process the fact that I had been reborn. In my previous life, my unintended attempt to dissuade her became my death warrant. In this life, I'm determined not to meddle in other people's business anymore, for, when Jejia arrived, my aunt threw a huge feast at home. My mom went, but I didn't. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to stop myself from wanting to strangle her. Even though I didn't go, she came to my house. My mom and my aunt are very close, so they bought apartments right across the hall from each other. Jejia was brought over by my aunt. The moment they walked in, my aunt practically shoved her into my arms, saying with a laugh, "Jiao Jiao, isn't your little cousin adorable?" Looking down at the enemy in my arms. A wave of fury washed over me. I pushed her away immediately. Forcing a smile to mask my anger, I said through gritted teeth, "She's lovely, you're very lucky, Auntie." My aunt beamed, pulling Jejia into a hug, and said proudly, "Those big, sparkling eyes have completely won over Xiaochen. He adores her. My cousin is 5 years older than Jejia." I offered a perfunctory reply, "That's great." "Congratulations, Auntie," she said with a grin. "I think it's definitely worth celebrating." I was completely speechless. I didn't want to say another word, so I just got up and went into my room. "It's just that, Auntie, I hope you can be happy for the rest of your life." Just as I was about to close the door, Jejia's childish voice came from behind me, asking, "Mom, does cousin not like me?" Auntie snorted coldly. "Sweetie, don't mind her. Whether she likes you or not doesn't matter. We like you, and that's what's important," Jejia replied in a soft, gentle voice. Okay, 5. When Jejia first arrived, she was very well behaved. Whether eating or playing with toys, she would secretly watch her aunt and Zhang Chen's expressions, only continuing when she saw them smile. Her uncle was always busy with work outside, and his attitude was rather indifferent. My aunt took her out every day to buy her new clothes, dressed her up beautifully, and showed her off to everyone. Not even the dogs on the street were spared from her bragging. After completing the enrollment procedures for Jejia, she started attending the senior kindergarten class. One day, after she had been attending for a while, my aunt received a call from the kindergarten and rushed to the school in a hurry. I happened to run into her right outside my house, and out of sheer curiosity, I decided to tag along. The teacher said Jejia had been hit. When we arrived, we saw the clear red mark of a handprint on Jejia's face. Her big eyes were brimming with tears as she looked helplessly at my aunt and me. My aunt's heart just melted. A mix of fury and heartache surged through her, and she lashed out at the teacher, who hit my daughter. "What kind of supervision is this at your school?" The teacher, looking apologetic, brought a little boy forward and said, "I'm so sorry, Jejia's mom, it was this classmate. But it was an accident. I've already spoken to him about it." I glanced at the little boy. Even though he was the one who hit her, I noticed he was clutching his stomach, his face pale with pain, as if he was holding something back. Just then, he spoke up in his own defense. "I didn't hit her first. She kicked me in the stomach." Jejia quickly denied it. "I did no such thing. You're the one who peeked at me in the bathroom." My mom says it's not right for anyone to watch a girl when she's using the toilet. Her aunt was furious when she heard this. She raised her hand to hit someone, but the teacher stopped her. The little boy stared at Jejia in utter shock, insisting, I really didn't. She kicked me first, and I only hit her back once." Seeing he didn't look well, I quickly spoke up and suggested, "Maybe we should take him to get checked up first. He doesn't look too good." While they were talking, the little boy's parents arrived, and the argument between the two sides escalated. Then the little boy suddenly collapsed to the ground. His terrified parents immediately scooped him up and rushed him to the hospital, where the examination revealed severe internal abdominal injuries. This confirmed the boy's story. He had been kicked in the stomach. Everyone stared at Jejia in utter shock. Jejia shook her head in a panic, pleading her case. "It wasn't me, I swear. He was the one peeping on me in the bathroom." My aunt was at a complete loss. Only I understood the truth deep down, so even back then, when she was so young, she was already this wicked. No wonder you pushed me so decisively and without a hint of panic in our past life, since it was a blind spot in the kindergarten surveillance, and the two kids gave conflicting accounts. The truth remained unclear. In the end, my aunt had no choice but to cover the medical expenses. Regardless, they were the only two involved in the fight. There was no way they could avoid responsibility. The original compensation was set at 10,000 yuan, but since Jejia was also hit, they settled for 8,000 in the end. 6. A single fight cost my aunt 8,000 yuan. Back home, my aunt was furious. It was the first time she'd lost her temper since taking Jejia in. "How can someone so small be so strong? You kicked him straight to the hospital." Seeing Jejia crying with her head down, my aunt's heart softened, and her tone gentled. "Even if he started it, you can't go that far. Money doesn't grow on trees, you know. Your father works very hard." At that moment, Zhang Chen, now aware of what had happened, stepped forward to shield Jejia. He said to his aunt, "Mom, she's already suffered enough. Please don't scold her anymore. It wasn't on purpose." Seeing them like this, my aunt's heart softened instantly. She stopped reprimanding Jejia and instead gathered her into her arms to comfort her. It would have been a heartwarming scene if I hadn't caught that faint smirk at the corner of Jejia's mouth. I was inwardly astonished to be so young and already know how to manipulate people's emotions. No wonder she managed to get my aunt to adopt her at the age of 5. That little boy transferred schools, and Jejia hasn't had any more incidents of hitting people. While things were peaceful at school, at home there were occasional problems, for instance, damaging some appliances, or demanding whatever Zhangchen had. Constantly testing the limits of her aunt and uncle's patience, my aunt started complaining to our family, and every time she did, I'd console her. "Jejia is still young, and she was suddenly moved from the orphanage to your home. She must feel very insecure deep down. You should be more understanding, Auntie." My aunt looked at me, bewildered, and asked, "Is that really it?" I assured her, "Yes, besides, these are all minor things. She'll grow out of it once she's older. Just think about how difficult her life was before. We should show her more love and patience." Only then did my aunt relax and smile, saying, "You're right, Jejia is very sensitive. She's probably just seeking my attention. I'll be kinder to her from now on." I wholeheartedly agree. My aunt truly has a heart of gold. 7. From then on, my aunt doted on Jejia even more, to the point of almost favoring her over Zhangchen. Zhangchen was unhappy at first, but later, my aunt took my words, put her own spin on them, and managed to convince him. Surprisingly, Zhangchen stopped complaining and even started treating Jejia from a place of sympathy for the underdog. Back then, Jejia was the absolute apple of my aunt's eye. Even when she came over to my house, she'd look down her nose at me and point at my laptop, demanding, "Cousin, let me play on your computer." Did she think the whole world revolved around her or something? I refused, saying, "You're still too young for that." Seeing my refusal, she started wailing and wouldn't let it go. "No, I want to play, wah." I still refused and didn't give it to her. Even when my mom tried to persuade me to just let her have a turn, I didn't agree. Jejia suddenly flew into a rage. Sobbing, she ran over and swiped my laptop right off the table. The screen and keyboard split apart instantly. She was still screaming at the top of her lungs, "If I can't play, then nobody gets to play." Fueled by the grudges from my past life and the sight of my smashed computer, I was so furious that I grabbed her and gave her a smack on the bottom. That single smack made her cry even more pitifully, in a truly heart-wrenching way. Her wailing was so loud it brought my aunt and her whole family running over. The moment my aunt walked in, Jejia threw herself into her arms and tattled, "Mom, cousin won't let me play on her computer and she hit me." My aunt, looking heartbroken, shielded Jejia in her arms and scolded me, "Jiao Jiao, you're a grown-up. How could you hit a child?" Zhangchen also took a step forward and chimed in, "Cousin, why are you being so stingy?" Unlike the others who jumped to conclusions, my uncle didn't start yelling without assessing the situation. He spotted the laptop on the floor, and his face instantly fell. He pulled Jejia out of my aunt's arms and demanded sharply, "Jejia, did you break your cousin's computer?" My aunt and Zhangchen were frozen in place. I deliberately stayed silent. It was then that my mother stepped forward and said, "Jejia wanted to play on the computer earlier. We thought she was too young and didn't know how, so we didn't let her. She got angry and smashed it, and that's why Jiao Jiao spanked her." Uncle was furious. "How could you do that? Just because you can't play with it, you have to smash it." Faced with her uncle's anger, Jejia didn't panic. She even kept sobbing. "I didn't mean to. I don't know what came over me just now, and I accidentally knocked the computer onto the floor." Auntie quickly pulled Jejia into her arms, as if shielding her from a potential slap from Uncle. I pretended to be magnanimous and said, "It's all right, Uncle, she's probably just too young. It really must have been an accident." Even though my uncle didn't hit her, he still apologized to me and transferred 5,000 yuan to my Alipay, telling me to buy a new one. Both my mom and I said it wasn't necessary, but he insisted on giving it. With Alipay, the payment goes straight into your account without needing to click to accept it. Only after seeing that I had received the money did my uncle leave with Jejia and the others. As Jejia followed her aunt back inside, just before the door closed, she stuck her tongue out at me. I couldn't help but laugh. "That's all right. Just keep growing up the way you are. That's good." I deliberately provoked her into throwing my laptop. It was old and slow anyway, and I'd been wanting to replace it. And just like that, I got myself a new one. 8. She started school mid-year and was already struggling to keep up. In elementary school, it became even harder. Her teachers all reported that she couldn't understand the lessons. While all the other students grasped the material, she alone could not. Her grades were consistently at the bottom of the class. My aunt didn't believe it, so she tried tutoring her with the homework herself. After a few attempts, she gave up too. It seemed like the girl was genuinely unteachable. When my aunt was about to scold her, Jejia burst into tears before a single word was said, sobbing pitifully. She promised to study hard and begged her aunt not to yell at or hit her. My aunt could only close her mouth, any thought of scolding her completely gone. Later on, my aunt hired professional tutors. Over several years, she spent nearly 100,000 yuan, combined with strict discipline, just to barely get Jejia into high school. My aunt finally breathed a sigh of relief, thinking the good days were just around the corner. Little did she know, this was just the beginning of her family's nightmare. 9. By that time, I had already found a boyfriend and gotten married. In this life, without Jejia's mischief, I successfully gave birth to my daughter, Meow Meow. My husband is wonderful to me. He even bought an apartment in my mother's neighborhood, saying it would make visiting her much easier. So now, I get to have dinner at my mom's place every single day. As for Zhangchen, he's in university now, and I heard he's found himself a girlfriend. It's perfectly normal for Zhangchen to be dating in his 3rd year of college, but Jejia is also inexplicably in a relationship way too early. I was the first one to find out. I saw her sitting at the very back table with a guy when I went to buy bubble tea. They were chatting and laughing, sitting very close together, and their behavior was extremely affectionate, and this is during class time. The man was dressed very plainly, even a bit dirty, and didn't look like a student. Not only that, he seemed kind of old, too. This sent a tidal wave of shock through me. I didn't make a sound, not even a peep. I just hid in a corner, waited for my milk tea, grabbed it, and left. I felt the score from my past life could finally be settled. I don't want her dead. I want her to wish she were. 10. Whenever I had time, I'd stake out near her school. I saw that guy come to pick her up after class many times. I saw it all, from them walking hand in hand to them kissing. By the 2nd semester of our sophomore year, they were practically inseparable, but my aunt remained completely oblivious. In the end, it was me who had to find an opportunity. While they were off to the bubble tea shop, I managed to get my aunt to meet up with me. With the experience from my past life, I was determined not to give my aunt a chance to throw me under the bus in front of Jejia this time. Don't let my aunt's age fool you. She's quite fond of bubble tea, saying it makes everything taste sweet, so I offered to treat her to some, and she happily agreed to meet. I didn't go into the shop first. Instead, I waited for her to arrive, then had her go find a table while I went to order and pay. Who could say no to that? She happily went off to find a seat right away. Sure enough, before I could even decide what to order, I heard my aunt's furious voice. Jejia, what are you doing here? Who is this guy? What's your relationship? Shouldn't you be in class right now? That barrage of questions was something else. She fired off so many at once. It completely stunned the poor girl. I rushed inside to find my aunt trembling all over, pointing an accusing finger at Jejia. Seeing the situation, the guy immediately tried to make a run for it, but Jejia grabbed him by the arm. She squared her shoulders, looked straight at my aunt, and said, "This is my boyfriend, Lu Shuai. We're dating." That Lu Shuai immediately started bowing and scraping, greeting my aunt. "Hello, auntie, I really like Jejia. Please, let us be together." The aunt couldn't hold back any longer. Furious, she slapped both Lu Shuai and Jejia, pointing a finger right at Lu Shuai's face. She started yelling, "Look at you. You look a good 10 years older than my daughter, and you're old and filthy. My daughter is still in high school. What gives you the right to be with her? How dare you?" Struck by the slap, Lu Shuai immediately shot a fierce glare at the aunt. Before he could even react, Jejia burst into tears and cried out, "Mom, you're hitting me again. Am I not your real daughter? Is that why you feel you can hit and scold me whenever you please? How many times have you done this to me since I was a child?" Auntie stared at the hysterical Jejia and froze for a moment, as if trying to recall just how many times she had indeed struck her. Seizing the moment, Liu Shuai retorted indignantly, "We're both single adults. What's there to be ashamed of? So I'm just a decorator, but no job is inherently superior or inferior. What gives you the right to say I can't pursue her?" Upon hearing this, Auntie's eyes widened in shock. She stared at the two people before her in disbelief. So furious she was sputtering incoherently, "You ungrateful wretch. I've worried myself sick over you since you were a child, spent a fortune to get you into a good high school, also you could get an education, make something of yourself, and find a good match. And what do? You turn around and find yourself a construction worker. How could you do this to me? How could you do this to yourself?" Seeing her look down on a construction worker like that, Lu Shuai grew even more displeased. "Auntie, what kind of talk is that? Are you looking down on me?" Jejia also spoke up, "I don't want to make something of myself. Lu Shuai is my good match." 11. My aunt was absolutely furious, leaning against the wall for support, watching these two people who had caused my death in a past life now tearing into each other. I felt a deep sense of satisfaction, but I couldn't just stand there like a ghost forever. I stepped forward to steady my aunt and began my earnest plea. "Jejia, your aunt only has your best interests at heart. She just wants you to have a comfortable life and marry into a good family." I might have seemed like I was trying to calm things down, but I actually just poured fuel on the fire. Handsome Lu cursed angrily, "You all look down on me, is that it? Fine, fine. Don't you dare regret this later." And then he stormed off. Seeing that we had driven Handsome Lu away, Jejia turned all her fury on her aunt. "Great, now he's furious. Are you happy? For your information, I'm already his. I'm going to marry him. Those words hit her aunt like a bolt from the blue, leaving her utterly stunned. I'm a bit surprised too. I thought they were just kissing. After snapping back to reality, Auntie slapped Jeja again and yelled, "How could you be so cheap? I've been so careful, protecting you all these years as you grew up. Why are you so easily fooled? What kind of spell has he cast on you?" Covering her mouth, Jeja glared at her aunt with eyes full of resentment and sneered, "Ha. That's a good one. You call restricting my freedom and forcing me to study love. Let me tell you, he hasn't given me any potion. With him, I find fatherly love, I find freedom and peace. That's all I need." My aunt was stunned on the spot, her mind practically grinding to a halt. Seeing the shop assistant looked ready to call the police, I quickly ushered my aunt and Jeja out of the store, urging, "Let's talk about this at home. We're making a scene here, back home." I could hear another huge row erupting from behind my aunt's door. 12. Jeja was put under strict supervision. Her aunt personally drove her to and from school and wouldn't let her go out once she got home. This method proved quite effective, at least for a while. The two of them didn't see each other. Once it was confirmed they had broken things off, her aunt took Jeja to the hospital for a checkup, to see if she was pregnant or anything like that. The result was negative. Only after her aunt breathed a sigh of relief and resumed her strict supervision did Jeja manage to take the college entrance exam. We have no idea whether she has been in contact with Lu Shuai or not. After the exams, Jeja didn't get into a good university. She came home with an acceptance letter from a technical college in Shanghai. While it wasn't ideal, she had at least crossed the threshold into higher education. What's more, if she went away for school, it would cut off her contact with Lu Shuai, which my aunt was actually quite happy about. So when the semester started, my aunt and her husband happily saw her off at the station. After Jeja started university, my aunt complained to us again, "Look at this girl, Jeja, we hardly ever hear from her. She only calls when she needs to pay fees or when her allowance runs out, just to ask for money." I tried to console her, saying, "I was pretty much the same when I was in college. She's focused on her studies now, has her own social circle. She's not that little girl who needs to cling to her parents all the time anymore." My aunt seemed to find some comfort and asked me, "Were you like this in college too?" Actually, I wasn't. Back then, I kept in close touch with my family and even worked part-time to earn my own money, so I didn't rely entirely on them. But I didn't say that. Instead, I reassured her further, "Yeah, most college students are like that." My aunt suddenly added, "Wait, that doesn't sound right. Xiaochen wouldn't ask us for money this often either." I was taken aback for a moment, then smiled and said, "Xiaochen is a boy, he can probably find some part-time work, but Jeja is a girl, we're always worried about her safety." My aunt reluctantly accepted this explanation and left. This pattern of life went on for 3 or 4 years, and in all that time, Jeja never came home. She always had an excuse for why she couldn't come back. Every holiday, she'd say she needed to work to earn money and ease her aunt's burden. Deep down, her aunt longed for her return, but she had no choice but to accept it, and so it was that Jeja finished university without seeing her even once. Just as she was about to graduate from university, she suddenly called to say she had secured a spot to study abroad and was heading to the United States for further education. However, the tuition and living expenses for studying abroad would amount to 180,000 yuan. 13. My aunt came to our house, beaming with pride, and boasted, "Look at Jeja, that girl is really something. She actually got into a program in the U.S. I felt something was very off about this whole situation. She hadn't come home for years, and now suddenly she's talking about studying in America. That makes absolutely no sense." But my aunt, swept up in her own joy, didn't look into it at all. As for me, I didn't even bother to mention it. She just offered a perfunctory comment while feeding my daughter. "That's really impressive. I couldn't have scored that high myself." So, my aunt and her husband immediately emptied their savings, and when that wasn't enough, they borrowed tens of thousands more from friends. They transferred every last penny to Jeja, but what Jeja did next was even more baffling. She contacted them even less than she did in college, and when she did, it was only to ask for money. The amounts kept getting larger and larger, and my aunt was overwhelmed. She had to borrow money from others on multiple occasions just to make ends meet. They were looking forward to the day Jeja would return after completing her studies, land a high-paying job, and help them pay off their debts. Unfortunately, their dream was shattered in an instant. One day, a close friend of my aunt's rushed over to her and said, "Isn't your daughter in the U.S.? I just saw her at the supermarket with a man." 14. I was there too, and I watched as my aunt heard the news. She was so shocked she nearly fainted. By the time we rushed to that supermarket, we had looked all over but couldn't find Jeja anywhere. My aunt, both furious and frantic, was about to call and confront Jeja, but I stopped her. I said that would tip her off. What if Jejia just denied everything and never showed up again? After calming down, my aunt decided to stake out the supermarket and wait for her to show up. I hadn't gone with her the first few days, but on the 5th day, I offered to join her on the stakeout. I had a feeling the time was about right. Sure enough, after half a day of waiting, Jejia suddenly appeared at the supermarket entrance. Arm in arm with a man, we took a closer look, and to our astonishment, the man was none other than Lu Shuai. That was shocking enough, but what really made our jaws drop was the obvious baby bump on Jejia's stomach. My aunt's eyes blazed with fury. She immediately charged out without a second thought and slapped Lu Shuai across the face before he could even react. It was only then that Jejia noticed us, and she instantly panicked. It was the first time I'd ever seen her so flustered. She stammered, "Mom, what are you doing here?" The moment she spoke, my aunt's fury flared up again. Without a second thought for her pregnancy, my aunt slapped her across the face. "Tell me what's going on. Weren't you supposed to be studying in the States? So why are you with Lu Shuai and pregnant?" Having been slapped for the second time, Lu Shuai was now seething with rage. He slapped my aunt right back, pointed a finger in her face, and snarled, "Listen here, you old hag, Jejia is my wife now, and we're having a baby. You lay another hand on me and see what happens." Her aunt covered her face, looking at Jejia with eyes full of anguish, and demanded once more, "When did you two register your marriage? Was it when you told me you needed the household register for some overseas procedures? Wait, no, when did you two even get together in the first place?" Jejia didn't dare speak. She just kept shaking her head, looking down, and stammering, "Mom, I really love him so much, Mom," now that he had Jejia. Lu Shuai felt invincible. He gave her aunt a sidelong glance with a cocky, careless smirk and said triumphantly, "Did you really think keeping her under lock and key would stop us from being together? Let me tell you, we've been in touch this whole time. Every time you dropped her off at school, she'd come right back out to meet me for a date. That acceptance letter from the Shanghai University was fake. She never went. After you saw her off at the station, she came out and went back to my hometown with me. She's been with me all these years. Consider your money our dowry." Lu Shuai's every word was like a dagger, slowly carving into my aunt's heart. Even I, an outsider, felt my heart twist in agony upon hearing it. Clutching her chest, my aunt pointed a trembling finger at Jejia, shaking with rage. "You went back to his hometown with him. No wonder you haven't come home in years. No wonder you never video call me. No wonder the only time you contact me is to ask for money, you ungrateful wretch." Faced with her aunt's tirade, Jejia just stood there, head bowed and crying, making no move to respond. It was me who stepped forward to catch my aunt as she was about to collapse. That was how things stood until my uncle arrived. 15. As soon as my uncle arrived and saw the situation, he immediately understood what was going on. He couldn't help but get into a scuffle with Lu Shuai. In the end, we were all taken down to the police station. It's hard for an outsider to judge a family dispute, especially one like this. My aunt insisted that Lu Shuai had abducted her daughter, taking her away without any formal matchmaking or betrothal, and that she was even pregnant. But Lu Shuai argued that Jejia was an adult, free to decide for herself whom to marry, and that not even her parents could force her. With both sides sticking to their stories, the police officer was at his wit's end. They told us to go home and sort it out ourselves. How can we mediate this? She's already pregnant, and quite far along at that. We can't just have her get an abortion. In the end, it was her uncle who spoke more reasonably. "Although Jejia isn't our biological daughter, we've raised her all these years. Now she's just gone and followed you without a proper arrangement. You should go through the formal procedures. Consider it as her marrying you." In other words, they wanted Lu Shuai to provide the bride price, but Lu Shuai was having none of it. He said dismissively, "Jejia and I are already legally married and she's carrying my child. Why should I go through any more procedures? We're already husband and wife." This shameless behavior infuriated my uncle-in-law. How can you be so despicable? Forget about the proper bride price. Just give us back the money we've spent on her over the years and the 180,000 for her last study abroad trip, and I'll act like we never raised her." Lu Shuai still refused, immediately shooting back, "That money is gone. Jejia is pregnant and needs nourishment. It all went to taking care of her health." My aunt, who had just calmed down beside him, immediately stood up again upon hearing this, enraged. "Is she eating gold? How could she possibly go through over 100,000 in just a few months, you ungrateful wretches? How could you be so heartless as to swindle us like this? Aren't you afraid of divine retribution?" Jejia immediately shot back defiantly, "Mom, don't be so harsh. I'm pregnant, you know. If anything happens to the baby, it'll be your fault." Auntie was so furious she sputtered you, for ages, unable to form a complete sentence. In the end, they didn't get the bride price, nor did they get their money back. Jejia still left with Lu Shuai. The aunt and her husband were so angry they couldn't eat for days. Just then, Zhang Chen came back with his girlfriend again, saying he was bringing her home to meet his parents, the one he intended to marry. Marriage meant needing money, but where would his aunt and her husband find any more? They didn't dare let Zhang Chen know. so they could only pretend everything was fine while hosting them, wiping away tears when the couple wasn't around. 16. Fortunately, the wedding wasn't imminent, so his aunt and her husband could still buy some time. My uncle-in-law was even busier, working 2 jobs by himself. Even my aunt went out to work as a nanny, helping others with childcare and cooking. If things had only gone that far, it would have been manageable. But the nightmare wasn't done with them. 2 or 3 months later, Jejia came back. She was holding a child, her face a picture of misery. Her once bright, sparkling eyes were now drooping and heavily lined with wrinkles. She had aged terribly and lost all her former beauty. The moment she saw my aunt, she fell to her knees, sobbing. "Mom," she cried, "I was wrong. That Lu Shuai is a monster. This baby, something was off from the start. We just found out he has cerebral palsy." And Lu Shuai ran off the very next day. My aunt stared at Jejia in utter shock. Looking like she might faint again on the spot, she raised her hand as if to strike her, but couldn't bring herself to do it. I went over, picked up the child, and took a look. On the surface, he seemed perfectly normal. You couldn't tell anything was wrong. The baby was still so little and would burst into tears in an instant. My aunt had no choice but to let her in, so the mother and child ended up staying at my aunt's house again. My aunt and her husband had initially refused and wanted to send her away, but every time Jejia knelt on the floor weeping, with the baby crying too, their hearts would soften. They even tried taking the mother and child to Lu Shuai's home, only to be driven out by his parents. They said they wanted nothing to do with this brain-damaged grandson of theirs. Anyone who wanted him could just take him. They also claimed their son Lu Shuai had already gone away to work and might even find a better woman to have a healthy son with. To make matters worse, Jejia absolutely refused to get a divorce, and the whole situation had reached a complete impasse. In the end, they were simply kicked out to settle the matter. 17. Before that issue was even resolved, Zhang Qin came home with his girlfriend again. This time, it was for a serious discussion about marriage. His girlfriend stayed at his aunt's house, waiting for her parents to arrive the next day so the 2 families could get together and talk it over. And then, that very night, something happened. In the dead of night, a huge commotion suddenly erupted from their house. After a lot of shouting, Zhang Chen's girlfriend stormed out, slamming the door behind her. My mom and I rushed over to see what was going on. The moment we stepped inside, we saw my aunt and her husband in tears. Zhang Chen crouched in the corner, silent and withdrawn. Jejia sat on the sofa holding her son, acting as if nothing was wrong. My mother asked my aunt, "What's going on?" My aunt then screamed hysterically at Jejia, "You wretched woman, why did I ever take you into my home? Wasn't ruining our marriage enough for you? Now you have to go after my son too. What the hell were you doing? Sneaking into Zhang Chen's bed in the middle of the night? Explain yourself. Now you've driven his girlfriend away. They were supposed to discuss marriage tomorrow, and now it's all ruined. What do you have to say for yourself?" My mom and I were both left speechless, our jaws on the floor. What on earth is going on? After the scolding, my aunt gave a brief rundown of what had happened. She said Jejia had taken advantage of Zhang Chen's girlfriend being in the bathroom, barged into their room, stripped off her own clothes, and gotten into bed with Zhang Chen. When Zhang Chen's girlfriend came back and pulled back the covers, she was so shocked she screamed and ran out, and then she kept calling them perverts. She accused her aunt's family of deceiving her and the like, then cursed them out, grabbed her things, and stormed off. What woman could possibly stand for that? But Jejia was unfazed and casually remarked, "No need for a plan, I'll just be with Brother Xiaochen, I quite like him anyway." The moment the words left her mouth, Zhang Chen immediately stood up and slapped her across the face. "You shameless woman, I'd rather die than be with you." With that, he immediately went back to his room, packed his things, and left too. My uncle couldn't catch up, no matter how hard he tried. My aunt clutched her chest and collapsed to the ground, unable to get up. We rushed her to the hospital for emergency treatment. 18. When my aunt came to, she broke down sobbing. "Why did you have to save me? I can't bear to face that family ever again." My uncle lashed out at her. "This is all your fault. Why on earth did you have to bring her home to raise? Look what's happened now. I'm sick with regret. She's ruined our family." My aunt cried, her face a picture of innocence. "She was so little back then. How was I supposed to know she'd turn out like this?" I wanted to say, "If you didn't know, you shouldn't have taken her in. You didn't have to bring her home at all. The stakes are too high." But there's no use saying anything now. When they got home, something even more distressing happened. Jejia is gone. Her son was still at home, wailing from hunger. Even her brother-in-law dropped to his knees. Her aunt frantically called Jejia, but the phone was off. Furious, she smashed her phone. In the end, they had no choice but to go to the police, but a formal case couldn't be filed. The required time for a missing person report hadn't elapsed. And since it wasn't necessarily a case of abduction, it was difficult to file a report. They had no choice but to take the child and go home. Zhang Chen's phone was also going straight to voicemail. He was probably still upset. This routine went on for a few months, until one day, Jejia finally replied with a text message. "Yes, a proper SMS text message, not a WeChat message," she said. "I'll transfer Xiaobao's living expenses to your CCB bank card every month." That was all she said. followed by a deposit notification for 500 yuan into the bank account. It conclusively proved she hadn't gone missing and hadn't abandoned her child, so there was absolutely no way to file a police report. But then, my aunt is the one who has to look after this child. The real kicker is, what can you possibly do with just 500 bucks a month? After that, Jia would send exactly 500 yuan back every month. With no other word from her, it was as if she had vanished. If not for that 500 yuan, no one would have known if she was even alive. Epilogue. My aunt, unwilling to give up, kept pestering the orphanage and finally managed to uncover a sliver of information about Jiajia's origins. It turned out she had no father, and her mother was a woman living on the fringes of society. The mother, having gotten pregnant with Jiajia by accident, gave birth alone in a restroom and then abandoned the baby at the orphanage's doorstep. She then vanished without a trace. Upon learning the truth, my aunt was utterly heartbroken. The couple, raising a child with cerebral palsy, had no idea how they would get through their lives. They thought of abandoning the child but couldn't bring themselves to do it, fearing the charge of child abandonment. Zhang Chen also blamed them for ruining his life. He would send some money back occasionally, but he hardly ever returned home. My aunt and her family had no choice but to endure each grueling day as it came. It wasn't until a year or two later that whispers began to circulate. Someone claimed to have spotted Jiajia in the back alleys of a southern city. She was dressed in very revealing clothes, standing at the street corner, her eyes fixed on the men passing by. You see, sometimes genetics are just that powerful. The saying, like father, like son, didn't come from nowhere. Of course, adoption is an option, but it's crucial to be fully informed before making that decision. Ultimately, we can only hope for a world where no child is ever abandoned. If you can't raise a child, don't have one. If you have a child, you must raise it yourself. Don't harm the child or others. The end. Story 2. On the day my sister-in-law joined our family, my brother gifted us a pair of exquisite jade bracelets, hoping we would live in harmony. I immediately reached out to accept them and put them on under her hopeful gaze. After they left, I secretly stuck the jade bracelets under my brother's bed, because I had been reborn. In my past life, feeling sorry for her difficult past, I not only accepted the bracelets with a smile but also helped her integrate into our family. With my help, my sister-in-law has been getting along much better with the family, and she even successfully opened a shop, with people praising her for having a natural talent for making money. Meanwhile, I've had nothing but bad luck. Not only did the several shops I opened run into problems and shut down one after another, but I also got into a serious car accident. Just before I died, I heard my sister-in-law crying and blaming herself in front of my brother. Eve, it's all my fault. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have had to watch Juno suffer like this. My brother whispered to comfort her. Cora, even though I was the one who suggested swapping fates, I believe Juno would have agreed to it willingly. You're her sister-in-law, and she's had many happy years already. It's only right that she passes the chance for happiness to you. As they consoled each other, I finally realized that my brother, pitying his wife's miserable fate, had used a jade bracelet to transfer my good fortune to her. I died with regrets, but if given another chance, I will make sure my wicked brother and his wife reap what they have sown. Juno, come take a look. What do you think of this pair of jade bracelets? My brother Eve opened the box in his hands, revealing a pair of dazzlingly beautiful jade bracelets. I suddenly snapped back to reality, utterly stunned by the sight of the familiar jade bracelets before me. Isn't this the day Eve gave me those jade bracelets? Could it be that I've been reborn? Before I could gather my thoughts, Eve in front of me spoke up again. Juno, what's wrong? Did you not get enough rest last night? Hearing the question, I instinctively looked up to see Eve watching me with a concerned expression, though deep in his eyes was a nervousness, as if afraid I might discover something. My sister-in-law Cora was no different. I silently clenched the hem of my clothes, my heart seething with hatred. So it all made sense now. I had been too trusting of them, blind to their malice. 1. In his past life, after Eve started dating Cora, he often told me how pitiful she was. Before they got married, he even sighed and said to me, your sister-in-law has had a hard life. She wasn't born into a good family, which is why she's endured so much hardship since childhood. Every time I see her being bullied or treated unfairly, it makes me both angry and heartbroken. There are only 2 children in our family, Eve and me. Our parents dote on us, and we've always had a great relationship. So when he said that to me, I told him, bro, it's all right. You and your fiancé are about to get married. Do your best to treat her well from now on, so she can put those unpleasant memories behind her. Eve looked at me for a moment, then smiled. Of course I'll do everything I can to make her happy. I thought his idea of doing everything possible meant he would work hard to make Cora happy himself. I never imagined he would set his sights on me, to change my sister-in-law's fate. He actually got hold of 2 bizarre jade bracelets from somewhere, intending to transfer my good fortune to her. I forced myself to stay calm and gave both of them a smile. I really didn't sleep well last night, probably because I was too overjoyed seeing my brother successfully marry his bride. I lowered my head and pretended to examine the jade bracelet with a satisfied expression. This bracelet is quite beautiful. Is it for me? A flicker of reluctance passed through Eve's eyes, but he ultimately extended the box toward me. Yes, one is for you. And the other is for your sister-in-law. Now that your sister-in-law has joined our family, we're all one household. I truly hope you two will get along well. He spoke with such sincerity, as if his only wish was for me and my sister-in-law to have a good relationship. Thinking of everything that happened in my past life, I smiled and took the box. Don't worry, brother, I'll definitely help sister-in-law feel at home here. Seeing how delighted I was to take the box, the tension in Eve's expression immediately melted away. He smiled and handed the other jade bracelet to Cora. Cora happily put on the bracelet right in front of me, then looked at me with hopeful eyes. In my past life, when I saw her like this, I naively thought she was trying to get closer to me quickly, only now do I realize she just wanted me to wear the jade bracelet this way to save my life. I obligingly put on the jade bracelet, and Cora's eyes instantly lit up. She stepped forward and took my hand. Juno, that jade bracelet looks stunning on your wrist. I've heard that wearing high-quality jade like this for a long time is actually good for your health. Eve chuckled. Well then, you two had better wear them every single day. Cora tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear with a shy smile. This is the first gift you've given me since we got married. I'll wear it every day. Juno will definitely wear hers too, right? Seeing how eager she was for my reassurance, I knew I had guessed correctly. This bracelet won't magically change your fate the moment you put it on. It takes time, though I don't know how long it'll take. At least I'm sure wearing it for a short while won't do me any harm. I smiled and nodded. You're absolutely right, sis. Eve studied my expression, and the look in his eyes finally relaxed completely. It worked, and Cora was thrilled. She couldn't wait to tell me. Juno, your brother is busy with work this afternoon. How about you come out for a stroll with me? Her eyes lit up, but I gently pushed her hand away and said apologetically, Sorry, sis, I'm just too exhausted. I really need to go back to my room and catch some sleep. Cora's brow furrowed instantly, and she blurted out, but Eve quickly grabbed her arm, cutting her off. I know you want to get along with Juno, but there's no need to rush. Let Juno rest first. Cora's face paled slightly as she realized she had been too eager. She gave me a dry smile and apologized. I wasn't thoughtful enough as your sister-in-law. You should go rest. I acknowledged with a nod and turned to go upstairs. With my back to them, my eyes turned icy cold. I knew exactly why Cora was so eager to have me accompany her out. She was born with worse luck than most. Even drinking water could make her choke, and a mere draught was enough to give her a cold and fever. Now that I'm wearing this jade bracelet, if I go out with her and run into danger, I'll be the one who ends up unlucky. I went back to my room, locked the door, and headed straight for the window. The window was slightly ajar, and if I listened carefully, I could make out the conversation between the two. Darling, when will I finally get rid of this bad luck? If this streak of misfortune keeps following me, what about our future children? Cora's voice was fragile and pitiful, trembling with emotion by the end. Cora, don't talk like that. With me by your side, you'll always be safe and sound. When Juno was a child, her parents had a fortune teller read her fate. She was blessed with rare good fortune, both in wealth and health. Listen to the master, keep wearing that jade bracelet, and her good fortune will become yours. Eve spoke with a pained tone, not hesitating for a moment as he said those words. As if it weren't his own sister whose fate was being traded away, even knowing he'd go to any lengths for my sister-in-law. My heart still ached in that moment. There were just two of us kids in the family, and we've been close since childhood. Whenever I got into trouble, Eve would always step up and take the blame, bearing the punishment alone. I'd always share any treats or fun things I had with him. I never imagined that the brother who was once so good to me would one day betray me for someone else. Slowly clenching my fist, I fought back the disgust and continued listening. Cora was deeply moved, even smiling through her tears. Honey, the only luck I've had in this life was meeting you. You once said you'd always put me first and give me all the best things. You really kept your word. Silly, you're my wife. Who else would I treat this well but you? Eve said affectionately. The two of them were all lovey-dovey, but they never mentioned how long it would take to transfer my good fortune to my sister-in-law. Just as I was getting anxious, my sister-in-law suddenly received a phone call. I couldn't make out what was said on the other end, but after hanging up, she told Eve, "The thing I ordered has arrived. They want me to pick it up this afternoon. Honey, Juno, and I just put on these jade bracelets, and I'm feeling uneasy. I want her to come with me." Hearing her anxiety, Eve felt a pang of heartache. Then wake her up this afternoon and have her go with you. That way, if anything dangerous happens, she can shield you. My eyes turned cold. This afternoon was when I first got into trouble because of the jade bracelet. I remember it clearly. While accompanying my sister-in-law to pick something up, I was suddenly hit on the head by a vase and ended up in the hospital. After a moment of thoughtful silence with downcast eyes, I pretended not to have heard anything and agreed immediately when my sister-in-law came to my room that afternoon to ask me out. My sister-in-law was overjoyed, dressed herself up beautifully, and walked out arm in arm with me. Juno, I'm sorry for dragging you out when you didn't get enough rest last night. Tell you what, pick out any bag you like later, and I'll buy it for you. After all, it's your brother who's footing the bill. Her smile was gentle, and my gaze lingered on her face for a couple of seconds. If I hadn't died once before, who would have guessed that beneath that gentle face lay a wicked soul? I chuckled softly and said, all right, I've been running around working tirelessly these past couple of days. My sister-in-law better make it up to me on my brother's behalf. As soon as the words left my mouth, the gentle smile on my sister-in-law's face froze. Her eyes filled with disbelief. Noticing her expression, I teased deliberately. Sis, why that look? Don't tell me you're reluctant to see me go. Of course not, Juno. You've really been working hard these past couple days. My sister-in-law forced a smile. Your brother's swamped with work. It's only right that I, as his wife, make it up to you. Though her words sounded gracious, her eyes were filled with unmistakable resentment. I know perfectly well she was just saying that offhand, not actually intending to spend any money on me, after all. Ever since she started dating Eve, she hasn't paid for a single thing herself. Whenever she goes out with Eve, he covers all the expenses. When she's out shopping with me, I remember Eve's advice, never mention money in front of her and always pick up the tab. Whenever my sister-in-law felt bad about something, she'd always say she'd treat me to a meal next time to show her appreciation, too. But Eve often reminded me that she's not well off and doesn't have much money, so I should never let her pay when we go out, not even as a thank you. So every time she offered to treat me, I ended up paying anyway. Over the years, she got used to it and probably never expected me to actually take her up on her polite offer. Fighting back my disgust, I tightened my grip on her arm and pulled her toward the mall. My sister-in-law stiffened, pursed her lips, and swallowed her displeasure. I browsed the counters, pointed out several bags, and cheerfully asked her to pay. Seeing I was serious, a flash of anger crossed her eyes before she gritted her teeth and paid with my brother's credit card. I stood behind her with a smirk, my eyes dripping with sarcasm. In my past life, the couple milked me for all I was worth. Even after I died, my brother transferred my assets to his wife's name to play the devoted widower, after years of their disgusting behavior. I'm going to make sure they pay back every last bit, clutching a few shopping bags. I ambled out slowly while my sister-in-law forced a pained, strained smile. Afraid I might pick out something else for her to buy, she hastily pulled me out of the mall. Juno, I'm almost late for the meeting with the seller. Let's hurry over. After a moment's thought, I smiled and said I'd go along with whatever she decided. The pickup location was the same as in my previous life, a food street near the mall. In my past life, this is exactly where I got hit. As we got closer, my sister-in-law's expression grew excited. She grabbed my arm and urged me to hurry over with her, not even willing to wait for the last few seconds of the red light. Sis, it's still red, let's wait a bit longer, I said, pretending to advise her. My sister-in-law looked across the road with hopeful eyes, answering without hesitation, don't worry. There's so little traffic on this road, nothing's going to happen. She pulled me along as she spoke, and her confident words sent an even deeper chill through me. In the past, whenever we went out together, she was always so careful, afraid of bumping into things or running into danger. Now that she's wearing the jade bracelet that stole my good fortune, she couldn't care less about what terrible fate awaits me after she swapped our destinies. A cold smirk twisted my lips as I glanced down at the translucent jade bracelet on my wrist, my eyes flashing with malice. You can keep your rotten luck to yourself. Dragged forward by my sister-in-law, I had just reached the middle of the road when a car suddenly came speeding from nearby. The car was speeding wildly, swerving erratically on the road. The driver spotted us, eyes wide as he yelled, "Get out of the way, the brakes are out." My sister-in-law froze in terror, her face pale as a sheet, her hand clutching my arm in a death grip. I stayed calm and stood my ground, just as the car was about to hit us. My sister-in-law suddenly snapped back to reality, perhaps too panicked to keep up appearances. She shoved me hard, trying to use me as a shield, but the driver suddenly swerved, and I was thrown to the ground, escaping with only a scraped arm and no serious injuries. Meanwhile, my sister-in-law, who had pushed me toward the car in her panic, was struck and fell to the ground, her leg bleeding heavily. "Oh, Juno, help me. Call an ambulance." She turned deathly pale and couldn't move a muscle. A crowd instantly gathered around, some just watching the spectacle, others snapping pictures. I didn't want to save her right away. After all, she's wicked and would gladly have let me take the fall. Sister-in-law. I pretended to be utterly stunned, taking several seconds to snap out of it before struggling to my feet and rushing over, frantically examining her wounds in a panic. "There's so much blood, what should we do?" My sister-in-law stared at the gash on her leg. her lips pale with anxiety as she scolded me urgently. "Are you stupid? I told you to call an ambulance right away." It wasn't until the bleeding had nearly stopped that I finally remembered to pull out my phone and call for an ambulance. When my brother rushed to the hospital and saw my sister-in-law lying in the hospital bed, he angrily confronted me. "Juno, you were out with your sister-in-law. Why didn't you keep a better eye on her? Your sister-in-law has always been in poor health." Lying in the hospital bed, my sister-in-law listened to Eve's accusations with red-rimmed eyes. She never mentioned that she was the one who jaywalked first, acting as if I'd dragged her into this mess. My smile faded. "Brother, I was out with her, but she's the one who pulled me into crossing against the light. This isn't on me." Eve froze for a moment, then frowned. "You should have stopped her." Before he could finish, his sister-in-law tugged at his sleeve, tears streaming down her face as she blamed herself. "Honey, don't blame Juno. It really was my fault today. I was in such a hurry. I saw there were no cars on the road and just wanted to cross quickly, but then a car suddenly came out of nowhere." Her words were so pitiful that Eve immediately felt his heart ache for her. He calmed my sister-in-law down right in front of me, then angrily dragged me out of the hospital room. "Juno, when did you become so inconsiderate? Your sister-in-law made a mistake today, but she's already hurt and upset. Did you really have to say those things to her face? Didn't I tell you before? Your sister-in-law had a tough upbringing and never really caught a break. As family, we should be patient with her and look out for her whenever we can." I couldn't help but let out a scoff halfway through. "Bro, she's your wife. You do whatever you want to make her happy. Why are you telling me all this? Anyone listening would think you married her for me." Eve froze, staring at me with disbelief and confusion in his eyes. "How could you say that? Juno, you've been acting strange ever since I saw you. What's really going on?" His tone was puzzled, with a flicker of panic in his eyes as if afraid I might discover something. His gaze drifted to my wrist, and his expression softened slightly upon seeing the familiar jade bracelet. I sneered inwardly, my expression turning sour. "You'd better ask your wife yourself. I'm going to get some food." With that, I brushed past his shoulder and headed downstairs. 2 minutes later, I was back at the door of the hospital room. Eve frowned, asking his wife, "Honey, what's going on between you and Juno? She seems to have some issue with you." My sister-in-law hesitated for a long moment before admitting guilt. "I was so frantic at the time that I accidentally pushed Juno and nearly got her hit by a car. It's my fault." Eve breathed a sigh of relief. "I thought it was something serious. It was an accident. Why is she making a big deal out of it at her age? In such a dangerous situation." He never once considered what could have happened when my sister-in-law pushed me. He just kept blaming me for making too much of it. "I just checked. The jade bracelet on her wrist is perfectly intact. Don't worry. It's only the first day, so the bracelet hasn't started working yet. The master said once she wears it for 7 full days, all her good fortune will transfer to you. Honey, just focus on recovering at the hospital these next couple days. Please don't go running around." After these brief reminders, the two quickly fell back into their affectionate, lovey-dovey behavior. I leaned against the wall and finally breathed a sigh of relief. The only reason I went on this risky outing with my sister-in-law today was to find out what the jade bracelet does. Now that I've got it figured out, there's no need for me to stick around the hospital taking care of her. Glancing down at the jade bracelet on my wrist, I pulled out my phone to text Eve that something came up at the shop, then turned and left. If this jade bracelet is truly that uncanny, capable of transferring good fortune to someone else in just 7 days, then let's transfer Eve good luck to my sister-in-law. They're a married couple, and Eve loves her deeply. He'd surely be willing to give his good fortune to her. I hurried home, and a clerk from the jewelry store under my name arrived promptly after receiving my message. "Here's the bracelet you asked for, ma'am. Please take a look." 3. I opened the box and examined it carefully. The jade bracelet in my hand glowed with an emerald sheen, strikingly similar to the one Eve had given me. At a glance, you'd never tell them apart. "This bracelet will do. I'll see that you get a raise. Remember, not a word to anyone about today." I smiled as I reminded him, and his eyes lit up instantly as he promised to keep his mouth shut. After he left, I finally took off the bracelet I'd scrounged up from the room and put on the one the employee had brought me. When I heard my sister-in-law wanted me to go out with her this morning, I immediately started rummaging through the house to find the bracelets I had stored away. After comparing them one by one, I actually found one that looked quite similar to the jade bracelet Eve had given me. If I hadn't swapped out the jade bracelet beforehand, I'd be the one lying in the hospital right now. I went back to my room, took out the jade bracelet Eve gave me, and without a second thought, went to my brother and sister-in-law's bedroom and firmly stuck it under my brother's bed. This morning I asked someone to consult a renowned master, who told me that objects used to steal someone's luck are inherently evil, and those who use them to harm others are downright malicious. If I want the person who harmed me to suffer the backlash, the best place to put it is somewhere close to them, where they come into contact with it every day. After giving it some thought, I realized there's no better spot than under the bed. In a past life, Eve even scheduled their honeymoon for the end of the year, all to help his sister-in-law shake off her bad luck as soon as possible. After I put on the jade bracelet, they kept finding excuses to make me go shopping with my sister-in-law, afraid they wouldn't be able to steal my good fortune. I remember they would be staying at home for the next half month, just enough time to transfer his good luck to my sister-in-law. With a sarcastic curl of my lips, I walked out of the room that night. Eve came back alone. When he saw me after entering the house, his eyes instinctively darted to my wrist. After confirming the jade bracelet was still there, she finally spoke to me with relief. Juno, your sister-in-law told me what happened. She was wrong to push you, but she was just terrified and instinctively wanted someone to protect her. You know how it is, no one ever truly cared for her when she was young. She's always been timid and secretly yearns for someone to shield her when danger comes. Anyway, don't dwell on it. You weren't hurt, so let bygones be bygones. He brushed it off so casually, and I just snapped. What do you mean? I wasn't hurt, Eve, so only your wife's life matters to you. My life means nothing. Is that it? I confronted him face to face, and Eve frowned, his tone dripping with impatience. I'm just saying you weren't hurt. So you shouldn't hold a grudge against your sister-in-law. Why are you overthinking this? He rubbed his temples and said with disappointment, I thought as a woman, you'd understand how hard it's been for your sister-in-law, but you, never mind, forget I said anything. I scrutinized his expression, searching for any hint of a flaw, but Eve played the part so convincingly. If I hadn't been betrayed and killed by them before, I would have taken his words to heart, doubting myself, and might even have gone to the hospital to extend an olive branch to my sister-in-law. I let out a mocking laugh. Yeah, I've been blessed since birth, always getting everything I wanted. Of course, I can't empathize with a sister-in-law who pushes her husband's sister into danger to save herself at a critical moment. Eve seemed taken aback by my words, a flicker of surprise in his eyes before anger slowly crept across his face. Juno, I've told you your sister-in-law didn't mean it. What will it take for you to let this go? Do you need her to get down on her knees and beg you for forgiveness? Seeing how furious he was, I didn't argue but simply reached to remove the jade bracelet from my wrist. No need for her to beg. I'm returning this bracelet to you. From now on, she and I are just strangers living under the same roof. No, don't take it off. Eve panicked, reaching out to stop me. I glared at him. Why are you stopping me? Eve's anger instantly subsided, and his attitude softened considerably. Juno, no matter how angry you are, you shouldn't take it out on the jewelry. It was really hard for me to get this pair of jade bracelets. They cost me this much. When I bought this, I was thinking about helping you and your sister-in-law get along. If you smash it in a fit of anger, how will you face her afterwards? He held up 7 fingers, and a cold smirk tugged at my lips. Spending 7 figures on a jade bracelet to trade for my good fortune. Brother, you must really adore your wife. I fought to suppress the rage boiling inside me and couldn't help wondering, what expression will Eve wear when he finds out I've swapped my luck with his beloved wife's? He must be thrilled. With that thought, I composed myself while maintaining a cold expression. What? You're okay with my sister-in-law using me as a scapegoat out of fear? But I can't smash a bracelet in a moment of anger. Eve's eyes darkened, his face grim, yet he forced a smile. Juno, that's not what I meant. It's just that your sister-in-law. He instinctively started to play the victim card for his wife, but quickly bit his tongue, probably recalling my earlier harsh tone. He gritted his teeth and forced himself to change tack mid-sentence. Your sister-in-law is still in the hospital. Once she's discharged, I'll make sure she gives you a proper apology. I neither agreed nor disagreed, just gave him a long, hard look before turning and heading upstairs. Eve ran his fingers through his hair in frustration. After sending a quick text to his wife, he headed upstairs to turn in early, wanting to be well rested to spend time with her the next day. After just 2 days of recovery at the hospital, my sister-in-law was discharged to continue resting at home, lying in bed. She apologized to me with tears in her voice. Juno, I'm so sorry, I was wrong. And I apologize. Please don't be angry with me. Eve, with dark circles under his eyes, frowned and spoke up for his wife. Look, your sister-in-law has already apologized. Be the bigger person and let it go. I turned to see the exhaustion on his face and replied softly with a smile. All right, since she's apologized, let's just put this behind us. Eve visibly breathed a sigh of relief. My sister-in-law wiped away her tears, glanced at the jade bracelet on my wrist, and forced a smile. Juno, I knew you'd be the bigger person. I glanced down at my phone, my tone indifferent. Something came up at the shop. I should head over. After making an excuse to leave their bedroom, I didn't leave right away. Instead, I lingered by the door, listening carefully for any sounds inside. About 2 minutes later, the murmur of their conversation finally drifted out from the room. Judging by Juno's expression, it seems she still hasn't forgiven me, said the sister-in-law, her voice dripping with self-pity. Eve's tone was weary yet icy cold. Don't bother with her. Just make sure she says she forgives you and doesn't get any ideas about smashing the jade bracelet again. Darling, the master said that if she wears the jade bracelet for more than 3 days, it will lock onto her and gradually transfer her good fortune to us. Today marks the 3rd day, after today. Your streak of bad luck will finally be over. He said this with a tone full of anticipation and joy. Eve was so focused on having my sister-in-law swap my good fortune that he didn't even notice the strange changes happening to himself. I sneered inwardly, tiptoed away, and waited to see what would become of Eve after his good luck was taken. I didn't have to wait long. The next day at dinner, Eve suddenly received a call saying a project he was responsible for had gone wrong, and he would be held fully accountable. Eve's face fell as he kept explaining over the phone, but it was no use. His sister-in-law looked worried. Everything was fine. What went wrong all of a sudden? How should I know? Eve snapped, his tone unusually irritable when it came to his own affairs. Ever since he started dating, Eve had always spoken gently to his sister-in-law. This was the first time he'd lost his temper with her. Sister-in-law's eyes instantly welled up with tears. Gazing at Eve with a wounded expression, I sipped my porridge leisurely, keeping an eye on the two of them. In the past, Eve would have apologized immediately, put aside what he was doing, and comforted her gently, but the problematic project he was handling was his first major assignment, and it would determine whether he could get a promotion later on. With such a major project going wrong, he obviously had no time to properly console his sister-in-law. He didn't even glance at his sister-in-law, rushing out the door while on a phone call. For the next 2 days straight, Eve came back late at night and left in a hurry early the next morning. Despite all that, the major project still couldn't be saved. He came back looking utterly dejected, as if he'd lost all spirit. His wife approached him with concern. "Honey, what's wrong? You're scaring me. Say something, darling. My project is finished," Eve said with a vacant stare. His wife comforted him sympathetically. "It's okay, honey, this time was just bad luck. I know you'll succeed next time." She tried her best to comfort him, but Eve suddenly pushed her away as if provoked, shouting, "I've been keeping a close eye on this project every day, and it just had to go wrong these past 2 days. Did you pass your bad luck on to me?" His sister-in-law fell to the ground from the push, looking at him with a heartbroken and unfamiliar gaze. "Eve, how could you say that to me?" Her voice trembled, so heartbroken that she couldn't even bring herself to call him darling. I had been silently watching the drama unfold from the top of the stairs, but seeing this, I came down and scolded him disapprovingly. "Brother, your wife is just worried about you. How could you treat her like this?" Rubbing her reddened eyes, the wife looked at Eve through a veil of tears. Eve glanced at me, his eyes instinctively darting to my wrist. Seeing the jade bracelet still there, the irritation in his gaze noticeably subsided. He composed himself, reached out to help my sister-in-law up from the floor, and whispered soothingly, "I'm sorry, honey, I shouldn't have taken it out on you." She wasn't angry with him at all, wiping away her tears before embracing him with the devoted look of a doting wife who'd forgive him anything. I found the whole scene utterly cringeworthy and immediately turned to head upstairs. "Don't worry, dear. Everything will be fine tomorrow." My sister-in-law's comforting voice drifted over faintly. I paused mid-step, my gaze turning icy. I knew exactly why she said that. Tomorrow would be the 7th day. After tonight, the life exchange ritual would be complete. The moment I woke up early this morning, my sister-in-law was already urging me to hurry up and get ready. "Juno, you've been running around handling things for me and your brother lately. You haven't had a chance to relax in ages. How about we go camping together today?" I stared at her quietly and asked casually, "My brother just ran into some trouble at work. Is it really the right time for him to take leave?" My sister-in-law's expression stiffened for a moment before she forced a smile and said, "The company has already approved it. They said it's best for him to take a couple of days off." I knew that was just a polite way of putting it. To put it bluntly, Eve messed up at work and his boss is fed up with him. In my past life, Eve's career had been smooth sailing, and nothing like this ever happened. I remember accompanying my sister-in-law to her spa appointment that day, and right after we stepped out, we were hit by an out-of-control car. The hospital worked on me for hours before Eve arrived. Upon hearing the efforts were in vain, he immediately comforted my guilt-ridden sister-in-law, Cora. Even though I was the one who suggested trading places, I'm sure Juno would have agreed to it willingly. "You're her sister-in-law. She's had so many years of happiness. It's only right she passed that chance on to you." I was already grieving my misfortune, but I never expected Eve, the person closest to me, to push me straight into despair. I still can't shake the feeling of being stabbed in the back by someone I trusted the most. I stood up. If they were so eager to see me fall, I'd give them an ending today. After a quick tidy-up, my sister-in-law warmly took my arm and led me downstairs. Eve's car was parked right outside. He looked grim and clearly in a bad mood, but the moment he spotted me and my sister-in-law, he quickly forced a smile. "Hurry up and get in, or we'll hit traffic soon." My sister-in-law got into the passenger seat with a smile. While I opened the back door and climbed in, I stayed quiet the whole ride, keeping my head down as I texted the store employees to handle a few things. Eve glanced at me through the rearview mirror, his brow furrowed. and suddenly spoke up. Juno, do you remember how good mom and dad were to you when they were around? I keenly sensed the malice in his tone, looked up calmly, and remained silent. Eve had dark circles under his eyes and looked utterly exhausted. Without waiting for my response, he continued speaking. They'd slip you pocket money on the sly, brag about your achievements on social media when you won awards, and even accompanied you to your college campus together. I know they treat you so well because you're exceptional. Not only were you a top student since childhood, but you got into a university I could never measure up to. Even though I'm your older brother, I can't help but feel jealous sometimes. As he finished speaking, the envy in his eyes was no longer concealed. My sister-in-law looked at him with concern, showing no surprise at all, as if she had known all along. My gaze remained calm. Ever since my rebirth, I had considered many possibilities. Perhaps the idea of swapping fates was my sister-in-law's suggestion, and Eve harmed me for her sake. Or maybe I was the only one who could wear the jade bracelet for 7 days, leaving him no choice but to target me. It wasn't until yesterday, when Eve lashed out at my sister-in-law over the project, that I finally dismissed all those assumptions. Once every other possibility has been ruled out, whatever remains must be the truth. Eve has always been jealous of me, ever since we were kids. When our parents were alive, they always favored me for being the accomplished one. After our parents passed away, the inheritance was split equally between us, half for each. I used my share to start a successful business and opened several stores, while Eve lost all his money and only managed to keep our parents' villa with my help. I thought we were each other's only family and should support one another through tough times, but he always resented that I was doing better than him. He even went as far as trying to kill me. After a long silence, I said calmly, "So you were jealous enough to want me dead, is that it?" My reaction was unnervingly composed as I reached up and removed the jade bracelet. A flicker of surprise crossed Eve's eyes, followed by a twisted yet triumphant expression. "Since you figured it out, yes, only with you gone can I finally hold my head up high. Juno, don't worry, I'll come visit you every year." At that moment on the highway, an out-of-control car came speeding straight toward us from the opposite lane. The two vehicles collided. My pupils contracted in shock as our car spun several times before slamming into the guardrail. When the dizziness faded, I immediately checked myself for injuries. Miraculously, I was completely unharmed. Eve, the driver, wasn't so lucky. His face was covered in blood as he muttered in disbelief. "How could this happen?" the master clearly said. He trailed off, glancing at my sister-in-law who had only minor scratches. Then at me, finally understanding. "So you knew all along?" "With all the bad luck I've had lately, the other jade bracelet is in my bedroom, isn't it?" His voice was weak, and he was on the verge of passing out from severe blood loss. I let out a soft chuckle. "You don't expect me to just sit here and wait to die, do you?" With that, I made a move to get out of the car. Life swapping is dark magic to begin with. Whoever has their good fortune stolen will suffer 10 or even 100 times the misfortune in a short span of time. I'd better get off and keep my distance now. Eve clearly knew it too, his eyes darkening as he gritted his teeth and called out to me, "Take your sister-in-law with you." It was my idea, but I wanted no part of either of them. One a relative who stabbed me in the back, the other a beneficiary of the scheme. Taking her along would do me no good and only leave a bad taste in my mouth. I got out of the car without hesitation and left, leaving behind one final remark. "Eve, you brought this on yourself by stirring up trouble instead of enjoying the good life. You'll have to face the consequences alone." My parents' favoritism toward me wasn't something I had control over. I worked hard to get into college, start my own business, and climb my way up step by step, and there's nothing wrong with that. I gave my all for my own future, and for Eve, I willingly shared my allowance from my parents with him. And when I noticed his startup was heading in the wrong direction, I advised and supported him. I did everything I could for him. "Honey, don't scare me like this. Open your eyes and look at me. I'll be with you. I'll always be with you." My sister-in-law's cries echoed in the distance as I had already walked far away. The car suddenly burst into flames, and minutes later, an ambulance arrived. I watched in silence, my chest heavy with a grim foreboding I had long anticipated. I couldn't quell the jealousy in Eve's heart for 7 whole days. He never stopped plotting against me. We were destined to come to this end. I had no choice but to gather my composure and move forward alone. Story 2. My sister and I are 2 white immortals who've cultivated for over 3 centuries, originally white hedgehogs. Our luck ran thin. We emerged during the Dharma ending age. Though we barely achieved human form, attaining true immortality remains arduous in this faithless era. Our only path to ascension lies in receiving genuine blessings and divine recognition from humans. To aid our enlightenment, the city god lured 2 men to his temple, commanding us to seek their sacred endorsement. A stoic demon-hunting Taoist, a gentle internet celebrity. My sister whisked away the streamer without a trace, leaving the stone-faced exorcist with me. The streamer was kind-hearted. My sister could have easily attained immortality, yet she fell for his honeyed words. willingly married him, and defied celestial laws by using magic to make him famous. On the day he won Best Actor, the streamer stabbed my sister's fatal pressure point before summoning heavenly lightning to scatter her soul. Guided by the stoic Taoist priest, I accumulated countless merits and ultimately attained enlightenment through his sincere benediction, becoming City A's new city god, consumed by jealousy. My sister sacrificed her innate celestial form to redirect the heavenly lightning toward me, reducing my body to ashes and extinguishing my cultivation. When I opened my eyes again, we had returned to this fateful day of decision. The elder sister swiftly whisked the Taoist priest away. I leisurely toyed with the spines on my body. Fool, in this lifetime, both the Taoist priest and the streamer belong to me. You sisters have taken human form for many days. Yet your path to enlightenment remains blocked due to this era's waning spiritual faith, which has choked the celestial ways. To aid your ascension, I've specially brought these two mortals. Divide them between yourselves and strive to obtain their blessings. The city god pointed at two unconscious men lying in the main hall of his temple and spoke. One was dressed like an immortal sage, with a coin sword hanging at his waist and a cloth pouch full of talismans and ritual tools, clearly a Taoist practitioner. The other had trendy makeup, still smiling faintly even while unconscious, radiating warmth. His phone was still live streaming, though the screen had gone dark. Only the barrage of comments kept flashing wildly. I noticed the dark aura between his brows. TSK, this was going to be tricky. With a flick of her finger, my sister summoned a whirlwind that lifted the Taoist priest. Preparing to depart, the city god urgently called out to her, Evangeline, he's a Taoist practitioner who's always prejudiced against folk deities like you, viewing you as mere spirits. If he's in a foul mood, he might even slay you. Obtaining recognition from him won't be easy. Are you certain about this? My sister transformed into human form, her stunningly beautiful face feigning an exaggerated pout. Grandfather, I know securing his approval will be difficult, but as the elder sister, I should leave the easier tasks for my younger sibling. Let me handle this cold-faced, troublesome priest. I lowered my eyelids with a quiet chuckle. What a considerate elder sister she truly was. The city god was thoroughly pleased with her feigned modesty, nodding approvingly. Well said, Evangeline. This is precisely how a member of the White Immortal clan should conduct themselves. Lyriel, shouldn't you thank your dear sister? With a faint smile, I casually switched off the streamer's phone. Then I'll thank my sister properly. She arched her brow triumphantly. Dear sister. This streamer seems naive and gullible enough. You'll surely earn his genuine crown gift in no time. Unlike poor me, she sighed theatrically, forced to deal with this troublesome Taoist priest. Her unrestrained laughter betrayed not a shred of reluctance. Pressing my lips together, I smiled without another word. In this lifetime, who can truly earn sincere divine recognition remains uncertain. My sister and I belong to the White Immortal clan, often called medicine immortals by mortals. We practice the healing arts, not only curing human ailments with herbs, but even mending the spiritual wounds of celestial beings. 1. Though humans revere us as immortals, achieving true enlightenment requires arduous cultivation and trials. The greatest challenge lies in obtaining genuine mortal worship, what humans call seeking divine validation. Success brings ascension. Failure spells spiritual dissolution and mortal demise, unlike ordinary folklore. Receiving divine recognition isn't about casual praise, it requires genuine admiration from someone pure of heart. The formality matters less than the sincerity. In a past life, my sister stole the streamer away from me. The streamer's youthful cheerfulness made him receptive to supernatural matters, and his naive kindness made him laughably easy to deceive. When the streamer got lost in the mountain forest, my sister appeared in ethereal splendor to rescue him. The streamer fell head over heels for the older sister at first sight. 3 days after descending the mountain, he tracked down her hillside inn, declaring he'd repay her life-saving kindness by devoting himself to her. She kept him on to co-manage the inn. Within just half a year, the place went viral online while their relationship grew increasingly inseparable. The sister gave her heart freely, though the streamer hadn't yet offered his in return, despite chronic illness. The streamer stubbornly clung to his dream of becoming an award-winning actor. To save him, the fox spirit sister sacrificed a century's worth of cultivated power. Later, to fulfill the streamer's dream of becoming an award-winning actor, she secretly used her magic against the city god's decree to alter fate, forcibly propelling him to stardom. No sooner had she endured heavenly punishment for losing her century's cultivation, the streamer plunged a dagger into her unprotected vital spot and brutally extracted her inner core. The truth was revealed. The streamer had known her true identity all along, and their entire relationship had been nothing but an act. The streamer devoured my sister's golden core, then summoned heavenly lightning to obliterate her very soul. Unlike my sister's tragic fate, I who chose the path of Taoist cultivation successfully attained immortality. I understood too well that the mountain of prejudice in people's hearts was beyond my power to move. Thus, after escorting the Taoist priest from the city god temple down the mountain, I turned and left without another word. I had no intention of changing the Taoist's prejudice against our family, so I decided to find someone else for the ritual. To my surprise, not only was he free of bias, but he even vowed to assist me. Naturally skeptical, yet he shadowed me daily, incessantly chanting about accumulating merits in my ear. He claimed that beyond absorbing spiritual energy, the essence of cultivation lies in accumulating merits. I was skeptical, but our family had always been in the business of healing and helping others. Doing good deeds was second nature to us. It just meant shifting from monthly or yearly acts of kindness to daily ones. Expanding from medical aid to things like road repairs or helping elders cross streets. No big deal. So I decided to give it a try despite my doubts. After completing 500 good deeds, my long stagnant cultivation suddenly surged amid golden rays of light. I immediately rushed to tell my sister the news, bursting with excitement, but my sister was busy assisting the live streamer with the show and shooed me away impatiently. Doing good deeds for mortals earns merit. Even the city god doesn't know about this nonsense. Scram already. We're about to go on stage. Unlike you idle folks with time to waste on wild fantasies, mortals' lives are worthless weeds. Were it not for our family's cultivation path, I'd find even healing them repulsive, and now you want me to expend my cultivation to help them? Disgusting. Get out of my sight this instant. 2. As I performed more virtuous deeds alongside the Taoist priest, my cultivation advanced faster and my reputation grew ever greater. Later, the people of City A built a temple beside the city god's shrine and enshrined a golden statue in my likeness. From that day forth, an endless stream of divine golden light flowed into my being. 3 years later, when plague struck the mortal realm, I expended all my spiritual cultivation to heal the city's afflicted. As the plague demon dissipated, my celestial form dissolved into golden radiance. Later, my fading spirit was placed within a golden vessel by the Taoist priest to recuperate. Then, using his spiritual cultivation as brush and the faith of the entire city as ink, he petitioned the heavenly Tao. Extolling my virtues, I reforged my immortal form, ascended the celestial staircase, and received divine appointment before the heavenly gates, becoming the new city god of a city. This entire scene was witnessed by my sister, whose soul was on the verge of scattering, consumed by jealousy. She sacrificed her immortal body in madness to drag me into enduring the heavenly lightning together. 99 bolts of heavenly lightning struck down, completely obliterating my already wounded and unstable spirit. When I opened my eyes again, we had returned to the very day the city god asked us to choose our companions. In this lifetime, my sister stole the Taoist priest away from me. Well then, I suppose I'll grudgingly accept the affections of her beloved streamer. I brought the streamer to the mountain lodge. When he woke up and saw me, he bashfully called out, "Fairy sister, was it you who saved me?" I kept drying herbs without acknowledging him, but he followed me step for step, blushing crimson as he confessed, "Fairy sister, you're so beautiful. I know it was you who saved me. I can never repay this debt, so I'll offer my—" I flicked a needle to immobilize him 3 paces away, eyeing him coldly. "Cut the act, Jackson, I'm not buying it. The sole heir of Mao Shan sect shouldn't be playing the clueless rookie." Jackson froze momentarily before shrugging his shoulder, effortlessly dislodging the needle I'd embedded, his lips curling into a sinister smirk. "Little hedgehog, knowing exactly who I am, you still dare raise a hand against me. The Mao Shan sect remains the most venerable lineage of Taoist tradition, with Jackson as its sole inheritor in this generation, destined to inherit his master's mantle as a demon slayer. His excessive bloodshed invoked a curse, plagued by illness. He won't live past 35, with the sect's financial struggles and his desire to find a worthy successor for their mystical arts. Jackson became a streamer, even entertaining thoughts of breaking into showbiz, but those walking the esoteric path must remain detached from worldly affairs. No matter how hard Jackson tried as a streamer or celebrity, obscurity remained his inevitable fate. In their past life, Evangeline recklessly defied cosmic laws to alter his destiny. No wonder she suffered the heavens' retribution. I smirked back at him. "I know your kind looks down on folk immortals like us, even if you consider me some common spirit. I've never harmed humans nor abused magic. In fact, I've healed people, so you've no right to strike me down, not even as a mere spirit. Besides, in your current condition, do you really think you can take me on?" Jackson's pupils dilated in shock as he stared at me. "You can tell what's wrong with me," I smirked. "Have you forgotten? My family is known as the Medicine Saints." He studied me with wary hesitation before finally asking nervously, "Can you really cure me?" I shot him a sidelong glance without responding, let him sweat a little longer. After all, given the choice between life and death, who'd willingly choose the latter? Jackson couldn't contain himself. Within moments, he was pestering me. Can you really cure me? Then tell me why I've been chronically ill, what this medicine you're making is for, is it actually for my condition? Fed up beyond measure, I suddenly struck, needles flying to seal all his major pressure points. Peace at last, speak less, if you behave and stop calling me monster at every turn, I might just lift that curse on you when I'm in a good mood. That's right, Jackson wasn't simply ill, but cursed. That's why Evangeline couldn't save him in their past life. It was never an illness to begin with. The moment curse was mentioned, Jackson's gaze shifted instantly. So your family truly possesses such abilities. I couldn't help rolling my eyes. Now do you believe our family are legitimate celestial beings, not some wild, untamed spirits like you described? As the foremost Taoist sect, Maoshan should discern right from wrong rather than demonizing all supernatural beings. A look of realization crossed Jackson's face. After a moment of contemplation with downcast eyes, he gave me a deep ceremonial bow. Jackson stayed on, and I began working on lifting his curse, though I didn't permit him to list our guest house online. Despite often acting like a sly old fox, Jackson's early 20s showed through. Once we got familiar, his dumb moments became increasingly apparent, either wrecking the talisman array or spilling potions. He'd turn the inn upside down daily until I couldn't even find footing. I bit my tongue until finally resorting to needling him, the only thing that curbed this nonsense. These needles are manifestations of my own thorns, moving at my will with surgical precision. One yelping lesson guarantees he'll never want a second dose. Jackson stormed out in a huff after my needling, slamming the door behind him. Ironically, I'm the only one in this world who could save him, yet within half a day, he came back whistling like nothing happened. Though I'm not the sole savior, there's another, the stoic Taoist Eldrick, who could rescue him too. The curse-breaking method was something he taught me in our past life, but in this lifetime, it's my sister who receives his devoted guidance and patient companionship. The Taoist treated my sister just as he had me in our past lives, patiently guiding her to accumulate merit through good deeds. Word has it that a living bodhisattva recently appeared in City A. She opened a traditional Chinese medicine clinic offering free acupuncture and herbal treatments to all patients. Rumor has it some foolish hoodlums and bullying servants, dazzled by her celestial beauty and extraordinary medical skills, dared to scheme against her, after being thoroughly disciplined by the Taoist accompanying her. They never dared show their faces again. The video went viral online. With everyone gushing about their perfect chemistry, their ship had fans completely obsessed. Evangeline became an internet sensation as the goddess sister, praised for her beauty and kindness. Her TCM clinic was packed to the brim with endless streams of patients seeking treatment. With all these virtuous deeds, her cultivation must be advancing faster than mine did in my past life. We all returned to celebrate the city god's birthday, to my surprise. My sister's cultivation level still lagged behind mine. The moment I stepped into the city god temple, I saw my sister filming a herb gathering vlog. As soon as she finished recording, she casually overturned the medicinal herbs from her basket onto the ground and even stomped on them twice. Noticing my arrival, she giggled mockingly. I heard you've been spending all your time with that streamer. Don't tell me you've actually fallen for him and forgotten your original purpose. The city god glared at me furiously. Lyriel, since childhood I've taught you the divide between immortals and mortals. We deities may cherish all humanity, but never fixate on a single mortal. Have you thrown all my teachings to the wind? How dare you rendezvous daily with a mortal in the mountains? Seeing the city god about to punish me, I hastily explained, Lord City God, I haven't forgotten your teachings. That Yem streamer fell ill, I was merely treating him to gain his trust. So I might earn his genuine divine endorsement. The city god snorted coldly and struck my shoulder with his palm. This will teach you some discipline. Learn from your sister, do more practical work, and focus on attaining immortality. That's the proper path. Clutching my wound with gritted teeth, I retorted defiantly, Grandpa City God, hasn't my sister been idling away with that Taoist priest in the herbal clinic every day, making zero progress in her cultivation? Why punish only me and not her? Before the city god could respond, my sister cut in with a mocking smile. Don't slander me, little sister. Running that herbal clinic with the priest isn't idle frolicking. I've already extracted the secret to immortality from him. Soon enough, I'll ascend and share Grandpa's burdens. Stroking his beard in approval, the city god chuckled. Excellent. I always knew Evangeline was the clever one. This sacred fruit I've kept for a century shall be your reward today. With tears of gratitude, my sister accepted it. Thank you, Grandfather. Evangeline won't let you down. After the city god left, my sister couldn't wait to devour the spirit fruit. Wiping her lips in satisfaction, she came over to mock me. Dear sister, don't say I didn't warn you. That man is clearly at death's door. Why exhaust yourself trying to save him? As she spoke, memories of her past life's suffering flashed through her mind. Gnashing her teeth, she added, besides, he's obviously heartless, even if you pour your soul into saving him. He won't appreciate it, you'll only end up wasting your effort. My advice, just kill him and find someone else to seek recognition from. I sneered inwardly. What a fool. After following Jackson for so long in my past life, she still couldn't see through him. An heir of the Maoshan sect is no pushover, thinking she could kill him. If I dared strike first, he'd have 100 ways to make me beg for death. She pulled out her phone to call Eldrick for a ride. Hanging up, she gloated at me. What can I say? Eldrick's utterly obsessed with me. I've won his heart. He promised to soon bestow upon me his lifelong cultivation and the people's merits for divine ascension. You simply must witness my apotheosis, dear sister. I curled my lips. Splendid. I'll be waiting. When we descended the mountain a year later, our sister had become a household name philanthropist. She no longer just runs a clinic to heal the sick, she's also established numerous charitable foundations to aid various disadvantaged groups. Her spiritual cultivation has shed its former superficiality, becoming profound and restrained, with a faint golden radiance shimmering around her. It seems under Eldrick's guidance, she's truly grasped the value of sincerity. Her current cultivation stems from genuine, wholehearted acts of compassion. The paths I walked and opportunities one gained in past lives have all become hers now, though staying away from Eldrick was my own choice. Seeing him treat my sister just as he once treated me still leaves a bitter ache in my heart. My sister appeared on the same variety show with Jackson. She brought Eldrick along, while Jackson brought me. The moment my sister spotted Jackson in the dressing room, her eyes turned bloodshot, her murderous aura boiling over uncontrollably. Eldrick immediately pressed his fingers to her forehead, and in an instant, she became calm and docile. I bit my lower lip lightly. This was exactly how he used to make me docile and obedient. I raised my eyes to meet his. Clad in dark blue Taoist robes, his frosty expression made him seem utterly unapproachable, yet in truth, he had the softest heart of all. In our past life, he exhausted his cultivation to help me ascend to immortality. This lifetime, is he giving everything to my sister instead? Jackson suddenly leaned in and whispered, "Is that woman part of your family too?" I gave a noncommittal nod. "Yeah, she's my sister." 3. He immediately gloated. Well, the great mess, by outranks even me, and she's your sister, TSK, look at you, talk about being outclassed. I shut his damn mouth with a well-aimed needle to stop his toxic rambling. You're the worthless one. A good-for-nothing who can't measure up to anyone and deserves to be thrown away. Soon after, the assistant director came to notify us to enter the studio. The moment I stepped on stage, before I could even greet everyone, I suddenly felt my whole body heating up rapidly, and in an instant, I reverted to my original form. The crowd was terrified. Good heavens, that's a huge white hedgehog. That's a demon. It must be a demon. Help me. Chaos erupted as the elder sister immediately grabbed the microphone to calm the crowd. Don't panic, with Taoist Eldrick and me here, no demon will harm anyone. She then urgently tugged at Eldrick's sleeve. Master, my sister must have succumbed to dark magic. That's why she lost control of her true form. For the people's safety, you must subdue her now. Eldrick swiftly drew his coin-studded sword and swung it at me with a sharp slash. Bathed in a golden glow, I gradually transformed into human form. Eldrick sheathed his sword and clasped his hands toward the audience. An opening act. Hope you all enjoy it. His sister stood nearby, staring at him in disbelief. The show resumed smoothly after the host seamlessly followed Eldrick's lead to save the situation. After filming, Eldrick walked away without looking back, only for his furious sister to chase after him. Have you lost your mind, Eldrick? Why would you help Lyriel? She's a demon. Eldrick regarded her coolly. If she's a demon, then what does that make you? I'm obviously a celestial-born white immortal. You've personally mentored me for years. How could she possibly compare? Before she could finish, Eldrick abruptly cut in. You're truly no match for her. With those icy words, Eldrick turned and walked away, his sister hastily chasing after him. Taoist master, wait for me. We haven't finished today's good deeds yet. Come with me. Without turning back, Eldrick replied, You've broken the precepts against killing and envy today. You're in no state for good deeds now. Go back and purify your mind through meditation. My sister stamped her foot in frustration, shooting me a venomous glare over her shoulder. I knew it was my sister who'd slapped that talisman on me to force my true form to emerge. She probably wanted Eldrick to subdue me publicly. I was curious to see how Eldrick would react. As it turns out, Eldrick remains as gentle and kind-hearted as in his past life. Never one to harm the innocent. I couldn't help but stare at his tall, straight-backed figure, drinking in every glimpse of him. What a fool. The Taoist practitioners weren't wrong about us folk immortals. We're petty creatures who hardly value human lives, and not all of us are virtuous. It's understandable that Taoists slipped down on us, yet here he is, not only treating us with respect but going out of his way to help. The man's clearly an idiot. Watching them walk side by side, an aching bitterness welled up uncontrollably in my chest. It should have been me standing by his side. But after the painful lessons from my past life, I don't dare gamble with fate or get anywhere near him this time. Jackson suddenly slapped my shoulder, his handsome face twisted in anger. Quit staring, hedgehog. He won't turn back no matter how long you look. What? Don't tell me you've got a crush. Seriously, your taste is trash. I was already upset, and he kept yapping beside me. I couldn't help but slap his hand away. What I choose is none of your damn business. Keep running your mouth and I won't let you soak in the last medicinal bath. He stormed off in a huff. Fine, suit yourself. Like I'd beg for your help anyway. You clearly don't care, just let me die in pain. I couldn't be bothered with him and found a shady, quiet spot to nap, though I wanted his genuine praise. I'm not one to swallow insults. Whatever, I'm done trying. Jackson was gaining some fame, with more and more shows wanting to book him. He asked me to accompany him. I turned him down without hesitation. I didn't want to go because heading down the mountain might mean running into my sister and Eldrick. I wasn't ready to face them. Jackson had sharp eyes. He asked me, "Do you have feelings for that Taoist priest hanging around your sister?" Flushing with rage, I snapped, "Keep spouting nonsense and I'll kill you. Celestials and mortals don't mix. How could I possibly fall for some mortal Taoist, indeed? As an immortal born with celestial essence, what business had I loving a mortal priest? Yet against all reason, I'd fallen for him. In my past life, I'd dismissed his lectures about accumulating merit as mere excuses, tricks to avoid sincerely bestowing blessings upon me. We household deities are petty creatures who hold grudges over the slightest offense. Outwardly I agreed to accompany him in doing good. Yet secretly I led him into danger, framed him, and even repeatedly attempted to take his life, yet he never grew angry. Each time he'd just shake his head helplessly and let it go. Finally I confronted him outright, demanding to know what he could possibly want from me. He smiled faintly and replied, "This too is my spiritual practice." He taught me the ways of the world, showing me that sincerity must be met with sincerity. At first I didn't understand, cursing him daily for being stingy, never praising me sincerely, and all that nonsense about good deeds. I did plenty yet saw not a speck of merit gained. Then came that rainy day when I found a bird dying in the storm. Suddenly moved by compassion, I carried it inside to nurse it back to health. On the day it recovered and flew away, a golden light emerged from its body and entered mine. Only then did I truly understand what it means to give sincerity and receive sincerity in return. Unlike ordinary healing practices, earning merit requires genuine acts of kindness, not just going through the motions. I began to trust him, wholeheartedly performing good deeds within my power to earn others' sincere gratitude. Before I knew it, I'd given him my genuine affection. It frustrated me. I'd wanted his heart first, yet ended up offering mine instead. That damn Taoist priest was lying to me all along. He never intended to give me his true heart. Later, when I exhausted my cultivation to dispel the plague demon from the mortal realm, my immortal form shattered into golden light. In that moment, I glimpsed his crystalline sincerity within his tears. My spectral form watched him collapse where I'd just vanished, yet his face showed no trace of grief. Had I not been sharp-eyed, I might have missed that single tear tracing down his left cheek. That tear shone clear and bright. Within it, I finally saw his unguarded heart, luminous as polished jade. I couldn't help reaching out to catch it, but he suddenly lunged forward, startling me. The tear grazed my fingertips and fell to the ground. I stared at him in disbelief. "Eldrick, can you see me?" "Lyriel, is that you?" Our voices rang out simultaneously, yet it seemed only I could hear them. He still couldn't see me or hear my words. "Lyriel, are you still there? Where are you? Answer me, don't leave." My heart ached as I watched him search for me frantically, utterly helpless to intervene. Only when the heavenly tribulation engulfed me did he finally see my form marked by the lightning's judgment. There are 21 heavenly tribulations. If I can endure them all, I'll attain immortality, but these divine strikes are devastatingly powerful. Even at my peak, I'd struggle to survive them, let alone now, with my immortal form shattered and only my spirit remaining. In my current spectral state, forget enduring 21 strikes. A single thunderbolt would scatter my soul to the winds. For it was Eldrick who charged through the celestial storm's fury, shielding me beneath him and enduring all 21 tribulations in my stead. Eldrick was merely mortal, though cultivated. He couldn't withstand so many heavenly strikes. Worse still, these weren't even his own tribulation lightning. By defying the heavens to bear my calamity, he'd amplified the thunder's fury. After the tribulation, divine rain fell. Within its blessing, I reforged my immortal form. But the sacred downpour couldn't save Eldrick. Charred and broken, he collapsed upon the earth. With his last breath, he forced himself upright. A palm struck his chest, drawing heart's blood as he spent his final cultivation to forge a spirit brush, using the city's collective faith as ink, to bestow upon me a celestial title, Lyriel, whose virtue blooms like orchids and compassion shines as light, delivers salvation to the suffering with boundless mercy that blesses all living beings. Revered by multitudes and praised by common folk, the Taoist Eldrick pleads her case before the heavenly Tao, beseeching divine judgment to grant her the celestial ascension. I watched Eldrick, tears streaming down his face as he petitioned the heavenly Tao. Earning his genuine acclaim had been my lifelong pursuit, yet now that I've attained it, I feel no joy, only profound sorrow. I fought desperately to stop him but couldn't reach him. Not until his glowing petition soared skyward did he collapse, utterly spent. I cradled him in my arms, desperately channeling magic to save him, yet no matter how much energy I poured in, it was futile. Eldrick's breathing grew fainter by the second. He shook his head at me with a smile. Don't waste your strength. Don't cry. Giving everything for you. I'd do it all over again. Eldrick died in my embrace. Then, as if summoned, a celestial gate materialized across the heavens, its golden light pulling me upward like a divine tide. I ascended at last, anointed by the heavenly scrolls as the new city god. Before I could fully assimilate the divine cultivation, while preparing to bury Eldrick before returning to the city god temple for refinement, my sister summoned heavenly lightning that scattered my soul to the winds. Eldrick's body was left abandoned in the wilderness in the end. Failing to give him proper burial remains my eternal regret across lifetimes. In this life, I'm determined to alter his fate, so when my sister chose him, I didn't stand in their way. In this lifetime, I won't burden him anymore. I'll attain enlightenment through my own efforts. As for him, he deserves a bright and glorious future. Jackson sneered a warning at me. Little hedgehog, remember your place. There can never be anything between you two. Blinded by rage, I lashed out. What's it to you? If things won't work out with him, then with who? With you. I expected him to mock my wishful thinking. To my surprise, he froze momentarily before flushing crimson, fumbling awkwardly and stumbling over his words. You little porcupine, spouting nonsense. We could never possibly work out. Rolling my eyes, I jabbed his mute pressure point with a needle. You, what's with the stuttering? Pipe dream. Ha! After dropping my sarcastic bomb, I turned on my heel, leaving him stomping in rage. Petty little hedgehog, just you wait. Once this curse lifts, I'll slaughter you one day. Waving backward without looking, waiting for you. The moment I stepped out of the guest house, I ran into my sister who'd specially come up the mountain. She smirked triumphantly. Oh, having a lover's quarrel. Let me tell you, little sister, when begging favors, you ought to show proper humility. Since you're asking for his blessing, you'd better lower that pride of yours. With that attitude, you'll never attain enlightenment. Save your concern, elder sister. If you wish to kill him, just try it. No need for these clumsy attempts to sound me out. The elder sister reined in her murderous aura, forcing a strained smile. What nonsense, dear sister. Why would I harm someone I've no quarrel with? Besides, Master Eldrick warned me, ascension is within my grasp. I shan't break the precept against killing at this crucial juncture. Master Eldrick says my merits will culminate within 3 days at most. When I achieve immortality, you simply must come celebrate with me. My gaze swept over her form, though bathed in radiant golden light. It carried an unstable aura. I'll be watching when she faces the heavenly tribulation, but in this lifetime, I won't let Eldrick shoulder anyone's lightning tribulation again. At midnight 3 days later, City witnessed the rare spectacle of simultaneous sun and moon, with flowers blooming wildly and beasts singing in unison. Crowds poured into the streets to witness this once-in-a-century marvel, murmuring about impending extraordinary events. The heavenly tribulation loomed over my sister's clinic, but she mitigated its power by using the lives of common folk as leverage, allowing her to pass the trial with remarkable ease. A golden beam transformed into a radiant rainbow staircase, one end descending upon my sister's traditional medicine clinic while the other connected to celestial gates in the sky. The sacred golden scroll unfurled, inscribed with records of my sister's virtuous deeds and the celestial titles bestowed upon her. Overjoyed, my sister couldn't wait to ascend the heavenly staircase. With a disdainful tilt of her head, she smirked at me before leaving. Dear sister, thank you for giving up Eldrick to me in this lifetime. Keep fooling around with that little streamer. I'll be ascending to immortality first. I simply smiled back without a word. Just as my sister was about to step onto the celestial staircase, a dark cloud swept across the sky. The voice of the city god boomed from within the ominous cloud. Evangeline, you've achieved immortality without even telling your old grandpa. He's here. 5. The city god has finally arrived. In my past life, just as I was about to ascend, the city god suddenly appeared to possess my body. When he discovered my immortal form had been destroyed while saving others, he flew into a rage and drained every last drop of spiritual energy from my soul. Only then did I realize his divine power had been decaying from lack of worship, bringing him to the brink of dissipation. He adopted us sisters solely to cultivate us into immortals, a desperate ploy to steal our hard-earned divinity when the time came. Every gift he bestowed came with hidden curses, designed to let him possess our immortal forms during our ascension. In my past life, he drained my spiritual essence completely, leaving me too weakened to withstand even a single heavenly tribulation. Oh, how I shall never, ever forget the city god's tremendous kindness. Evangeline instantly realized the city god's sudden appearance boded ill. She rushed toward the ascension ladder, only to be frozen in place by his spectral finger. Evangeline. Such haste, your grandfather hasn't granted permission for your ascension. How dare you act on your own accord? The city god hovered above the herbal clinic, stroking his beard approvingly. Lyriel knows her place. Had you not alerted me, this wretched girl would have succeeded in her scheme. I smiled demurely. You flatter me, grandfather, since you rescued and raised us both. Filial devotion is only natural. The city god nodded repeatedly, laughing heartily with satisfaction. Evangeline. Do you hear? Without me, you wouldn't be where you are today, though you stumbled upon a shortcut by accident. It was I who found that young Taoist to teach you the secret arts. Everything you have should be offered to me, today. Let your grandfather ascend in your stead. My sister panicked, struggling desperately, but the city god had long since placed restraints upon her. Escape was impossible. She couldn't even move a muscle. My sister cried out in desperation, Taoist Eldrick, save me. The city god eagerly abandoned his crumbling golden form, his spirit rushing into my sister's consciousness in an attempt to forcibly possess her. My sister clutched her head with agonized screams, her contorted face flickering between her own features and the city god's. Help, Eldrick, save me. The moment her cry for help faded, Eldrick materialized out of nowhere. My heart lurched violently at the sudden appearance of that familiar silhouette. Didn't I already trap him with my spell? How could he possibly break free? Seeing Eldrick arrive, my sister cried out in ecstatic relief. Eldrick, hurry, that wretched city god is trying to possess me. Save me, drive him out. The city god seized control of the body, glaring at me furiously. Lyriel, you swore that meddlesome priest was gone. You lied to me. I rolled my eyes. Surely you know we household spirits never let slights go unanswered. Why so upset over such a petty trick, you treacherous wench? The city god hurled a gust of razor wind toward me when Eldrick suddenly stepped in front, shielding me. City god, he declared, once a deity revered by thousands, you've succumbed to demonic corruption out of cowardice. Today, I shall execute heaven's justice upon you. Eldrick locked in fierce combat with him, golden needles poised between my fingers. I was about to strike when Jackson materialized out of nowhere. Little hedgehog. Where'd you pick up this class of fiend, huh? A fallen god no less. Step back, lass. Perfect timing with my curse just lifted. Today you'll witness the true might of Maoshan sect. Timing Jackson's curse breaking perfectly was part of my plan all along. With his formidable magic aiding me, our chances of success would be much higher. The three of us subdued the city god together. Forcing him out of my sister's body, the deity roared in fury. Lyriel, you treacherous wench, how dare you conspire with these Taoists to ambush me? I'll kill you. I swear I'll kill you. I snatched the demon-subduing sword from Jackson and plunged it straight into his spiritual core. Allow me to escort you to your final rest. Lord City God, safe travels. My dying sister, collapsed on the ground, was also screaming threats to kill me. The city god's torment had severely damaged her celestial form, reducing her to her original state, a tiny hedgehog. Yet even in this state, she kept cursing me while stubbornly crawling toward the heavenly ladder, but there was no way she could ascend now. Weeping and wailing, she kept charging at the golden light of the ladder, only to be thrown back each time, undeterred. As I approached, she bristled with rage and spat curses at me. Lyriel, you vile wretch, this is all you're doing. May you die a wretched death, a wretched death. I chuckled mockingly. Dearest sister, I've harmed no one. See, even the two priests haven't lifted a finger against me. How could I possibly come to ruin? Unlike you, tch. Now there's someone truly headed for a miserable end. My sister strained to look up, only to see Jackson and Eldrick standing behind me, their protective stance making it clear they'd sooner defend me than raise a hand against me. Choking with fury, my sister spat blood, her entire body trembling. Lyriel, she seethed, I curse you to die in agony in this life. Once again, she chose to perish together with me, but in this life, I refuse to be a lamb for slaughter. As I summoned my magic to defend myself, Jackson and Eldrick moved faster to shield me, yet a golden light outpaced us all. The heavenly scroll, the scroll hovered above me, its radiant glow not only deflecting my sister's curse but hurling it back at her, and just like that, my sister met her tragic end. Not even a wisp of her soul remained, utterly annihilated. A gentle breeze swept through, carrying away her last traces until nothing remained. The celestial scroll of providence slowly rotated, revealing the records of my merits and blessings across past and present lives. At its conclusion lay the divine decree appointing me as the city god. I stood thunderstruck. My immortal ties from past lives hadn't been severed after all, but had followed me into this rebirth. The celestial scroll whirled faster now, its golden radiance enveloping me as it subtly guided my steps toward the stairway to heaven. Attaining immortality has been my lifelong pursuit and ultimate aspiration. Now that it's within reach, I find myself strangely at a loss. There are still earthly attachments I cannot let go of. My gaze involuntarily drifts back to Eldrick behind me. I never expected Eldrick to understand my feelings. After all, we're strangers in this lifetime, yet to my surprise, After locking eyes briefly, he actually walked toward me. He took my hand and led me toward the celestial stairway, whispering, "Lyriel, though you've rejected me in this life, I'd still gladly help you one more time." My pupils contracted as I realized Eldrick had also been reborn. Watching tears stream from his grief-stricken eyes, I whispered, "I never meant to abandon you." Eldrick forced a bitter smile. "Then I shall bear no grudge. Go forth, Lyriel. Your celestial nature destines you for immortality. That a mere mortal like me could aid your journey is fortune enough." With those words, he struck his chest to extract a drop of heart's blood, condensing his cultivation into a spirit brush to inscribe the final seal, "Lyriel, whose virtue blooms like orchids and compassion shines like light, delivers salvation to the suffering with boundless mercy that blesses all living beings. Revered by multitudes and praised by common folk. Elder Eldrick of the Taoist Order humbly welcomes your ascension as city god." 6. Drawn irresistibly toward the celestial staircase by golden radiance, I parted my lips but found no words to speak. Just as I was about to step onto the celestial staircase, Jackson suddenly seized my arm. "Little hedgehog," he said, "you haven't bid me farewell yet." Before I could respond, he continued, "You saved me, and I never thanked you. I know your kindness was just to earn my genuine endorsement. Never thought that detestable man would steal your thunder." He shot Eldrick a venomous glare as he spoke. With a final glare, he forced out a drop of heart's blood and consecrated me upon the celestial scroll, "Lyriel, whose wisdom shines like stars and compassion flows like rivers, bearing celestial grace." Taoist Jackson humbly welcomes the inauguration of our new city god. As his words faded, golden light drew me toward the heavenly gate. The celestial gate blazed with auroral radiance as a golden figure descended through swirling clouds, alighting upon the city god's temple amidst the billowing mists, with the new city god assuming office to protect the land and its people, punish evil, and reward virtue, bestowing blessings upon all. City A entered an era of peace and prosperity, even after the curse was lifted. Jackson didn't live much longer. His reckless nature kept driving him toward danger, and his ghost hunting methods were always suicidal at best. Somehow, his relentless antics cost him his life, and even his returning spirit appeared pitifully broken and vacant. When I returned from my trip, I found a wretched figure crouching at the city god temple's entrance. At first glance, I mistook it for some stray ghost, until I looked closer and realized it was Jackson. "Jackson, damn. You really went out hard. Tsk. These spiritual scars show you suffered in human torment before death. What unspeakable evil did you commit to deserve such a wretched end?" Jackson stared at me blankly. "You know me. I don't remember anything. Who are you, and who am I?" Only then did I notice his fragmented soul. Pressing my finger to his third eye to glimpse his past, I teased, "If you don't know me, why did you come to my city god temple?" "I don't know. Some voice in my heart insisted I had to come here." My teasing words died in my throat as I saw the horrific scene of his final moments. So he was tortured to death by human traffickers while trying to rescue abducted children. My face turned glacial as I commanded coldly, "Summon the messenger, draft a missive to the city god of Sea-Town, ask if he requires my assistance in governing his territory. One of my people from a city suffered such torment within his jurisdiction. I demand an explanation." With that, I carefully placed his spirit into a magical vessel for recuperation, then dispatched agents to retrieve the missing fragments of his soul scattered abroad. Another decade passed in this relentless search. After restoring Jackson's missing soul fragments, I prepared to send him into reincarnation. To my surprise, Jackson stubbornly refused and insisted on clinging to the city god temple, worn down by his persistence. I kept him as an assistant. His accumulated merits eventually earned him the title of Marshal Judge, becoming my most capable lieutenant. Unlike Jackson's tragic fate, Eldrick lived a fulfilling and complete life. When I first ascended the throne, the ancient demons and malevolent spirits of City craned their necks in anticipation, waiting for the new city god to falter so they could seize the opportunity to cause trouble. Little did they expect the new city god to be such a tough nut, outwardly kind-faced but ruthless at heart, showing no mercy when dealing with law-breaking spirits. Moreover, City A had a formidable stone-faced Taoist priest whose coined sword struck terror into the hearts of every supernatural being in the city. The great demon clans had all either relocated or gone into hibernation. Best to lay low and bide our time rather than provoke trouble, yet the Taoist priest stayed, with time on his hands. He even established a sect near the city god temple outside the city walls, patiently training a group of spiritually gifted disciples. The sect was named the City Guard Pavilion, symbolizing its protective purpose. A young disciple asked in confusion, "Master, if the city god is so mighty, why would he need our protection?" Patting his young disciple's head, Eldrick replied, "The city god is indeed more powerful than us. This guard duty isn't just about protection, it's also about standing sentry at the gates. Since Her Excellency has countless responsibilities, let's not trouble her with trivial matters we can handle ourselves." Eldrick kept vigil at the City Guard Pavilion for 50 years, assisting me with tens of thousands of affairs until his peaceful passing in sleep, when his soul departed the mortal shell. His entire being blazed with such radiant golden virtue that it dazzled the eyes. The celestial scroll reappeared to confer upon him the title of minor earth deity, yet he declined the honor. He said, "The city god still needs a civil magistrate under his command." Jackson volunteers himself. "May the city god in heavens will grant this request." Before heavens will could respond, Jackson jumped in impatiently. "Wishful thinking. A mere mortal like you dares aspire to stay by the city god's side and covet the civil magistrate position. Keep dreaming." Eldred gave him a cool glance. "You were once a mere mortal too." Jackson immediately fell silent. I remained silent, for I knew heaven's will would prevail, yet now I bitterly regret not speaking up to refuse when I had the chance. Had I refused then, the heartache would have been temporary, far better than this present torment that keeps me from even returning to the city god's temple. Jackson and Eldred couldn't stand each other in life. And death hasn't improved matters. They're still locked in endless rivalry. If Jackson brings me tea, Eldrick will inevitably fetch me water. When Jackson treats me to dinner, Eldrick makes sure to drape a coat over my shoulders. And if Eldrick asks me to accompany him to the underworld, Jackson just gazes at me with tearful eyes. "Lyriel, go with him, I'll be fine. Just a bit of spiritual instability again. I can handle it." Perched on the highest rooftop in City A, I gloomily downed a shot of hard liquor. When will this endless drama ever stop? Before I could wallow further, Jackson materialized behind me. "Lyriel, drinking alone is no fun. I stir-fried your favorite spicy peanuts. Come on, let's share a drink." Eldrick teleported in right after. "What's your game, Jackson?" "Lyriel swore off peanuts ages ago. How dare you tempt her?" "Lyriel, ignore him. Look, I made you osmanthus cake instead. You're the one with ulterior motives." "Didn't you know?" Lyriel complained.